do not even use the term African American. I use the term Africans because that's what we are. We're Africans in America. There's nothing American about us. Our history has only been a history of struggle in America. We are the only ethnic group in America who have to shed our blood to make reform. To get the vote, we must shed our blood. To get our children to school, we must shed our blood. To get on the bus and sit where we want, we must shed our blood. To even get in a filthy 5 and 10 cent store, we must shed our blood. So I don't see how we could be American. We're Africans in America struggling against American capitalism. And only until it's destroyed will we enjoy the rights that everyone else is speaking of. Human progress does not stand still. It moves. We came here as Africans. One of the first organizations we had fighting for us is known as the Free African Society. The very first independent organization we had in this country was the church. It was known as the African Methodist Episcopalian Church. So from Africans, our oppressor has changed us to colored, to Negro, to this, to that. We understand it's a step. Coming to black had a powerful point, because the point was that we were oppressed because of this color of our skin, and this was racism. But this fight is not just a fight over the color of skin. A fight for power is a fight for land. When Mr. Llewellyn speaks about power, he's talking about land. Our land is Africa. America is not our land. It belongs to the American Indians, and we have a right to stand and take a moral struggle with them. The error of the thinking here is that most people think that Africans in America came here just like other immigrant groups did. All other immigrants came to America expecting a better way of life. We started in hell, which was a slave ship, and we're still in hell. And this incorrect assumption makes it appear as if we've made a contribution with our culture. Our culture has been trampled upon, not the others. Any contribution we've made to America is the test of the strength of our culture in spite of this oppression. We are Africans, and that's exactly where we're going.
Is the term, in your view, is that where you end it? Is that where it stops?
The content was African. The label has been changed to confuse us. If we came as Africans, how do we end up as Americans? How do you
I would beg to differ here that my ancestors came here in a slave boat. They didn't. They came from the island of Jamaica, and they came on their own because they thought it was a better place to be in Jamaica.
They came to Jamaica. They came as slaves to Jamaica. I was born in Trinidad. That's where the slave ship dropped them. We're all slaves. Right. We're all slaves.
We can't solve this.
Jamaica. Did you decide to drop in Jamaica? The white man dropped you in Jamaica and brought you to Mississippi. Right. So you don't define yourself by the enemy?
No, I define myself as a place where I used to be, or where I thought I was.
So if you're fighting on a slave ship, we fought on the slave ships. We fought on the slave ships. Did you call yourself a water?
Love it. Welcome to a brand new beginning week of a Nick and CJ show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's popping? My friends, my family, man. It's great to be back. Welcome to Nick and CJ show. We got a lot of great things to talk about. Regarding the opening clip, man, we need Kwame Ture back. We need a Kwame Ture, and RBN, like one of the visions I have is for a new era of Black radicalism to take place, because before RBN, the most radical voice you will hear aloud among Black people is fucking Benjamin Dixon, who advocates for Biden and shit, right? We need people like Kwame Ture back. Like, our Black celebrities, our Black capitalist class is trash. Look at the people who present as leaders. Listen to what Kwame Ture said. That's why I love that you led with this, because you gave me a reason to talk about this, because look at what Kwame Ture focuses. Kwame Ture, his focus is Black liberation, and he embraces his African lineage in the pursuit of solidarity and for us to come together against our oppressors. Meanwhile, when you look at the mindset of Black capitalists and Black celebrities, you have one of the biggest coons of them all, one of the biggest examples of how Black celebrities and Black millionaires and billionaires, they see themselves as being rich first. They're class loyal first, Black second. They turn to like these patriot flag humping motherfuckers. Yeah. And look at Morgan Freeman. Black History Month is an insult, and so is the term African American. Now, my reaction to this when I see this, because whenever you see Black celebrities when they speak out, it's always on some absolute dumb shit. Of context, like, so we have racial income inequality that's worse right now than it was at the height of the civil rights era. You have the Black community under siege, and we got the story we're gonna do later today, CJ. How the police state is stealing
civil asset forfeiture.
You have all these massive problems that's going on that's plaguing the Black community. You got the government that's destroying our wealth, waging and using state violence against us. There was this guy who was just ate alive by bed bugs. You guys see that story? Guy ate alive by bed bugs, but they want to talk about gulags under Stalin. You know what I mean? Instead of focusing on
Not
these
right.
like
Not
stuff that
right.
really impact Black wealth, that impact Black culture. You got these Black celebrities. I don't know why they start autoplaying, but you got Black celebrities always focused on nonsense like this. And Kwame Ture just essentially shut down this nonsense argument. That's why I love you play that clip, because I literally just tweeted this out today. Morgan Freeman's and if you Google Morgan, he's been in the news because he gone on one of these boomer tirades about the term African American. You know what I mean? They always do this nonsense. So we need the Black community, we need Black culture to reject the nonsense that comes from the Black capitalist class and Black celebrity culture. And I'm gonna just stop it there because I can preach on this all day, but it's fucking.
Well, I want to chime in.
Go ahead, CJ. Go ahead. I've been ranting.
Yeah, so I'll chime in on Morgan Freeman because this particular class of people, the Black capitalists, that not only they're just, you know what I mean? They don't just sit and be quiet. It's the ones that come out and have the coon, every now and then. And he's one of them that's more consistent. He's more consistently, coming up underground to do his cooning, especially when it's around like military stuff, when it's around race, and it's particularly. I mean, I don't know if he's always been like this.
Oh yeah, he's been like this for as long as I know him. Like, because I'm used to like Morgan Freeman because I saw Lean on Me. I love Lean on Me, dude. I still think that's I love that movie. Even like I know now that that guy's backstory is bullshit, and that bummed me out. You guys know that dude's backstory is completely bullshit in that movie. Like everything they claimed he did not do. Like he instituted tough love, tough on the students policy, and that failed. But then they made a movie like, yeah, this being tough on the Black people, tough on crime shit actually works. That's not what happened. But anyway, I still love the movie before I learned
it was like the head slave of the plantation. Look, he got all the slaves to produce cotton real fast. And what was rewarded. It wasn't like he was radical. Why would they make a movie of that? They made a movie of this. And Nick will be back in just a second. But continuing along the lines, there he goes, right there. But continuing along,
I accidentally I hit the wrong button. I'm actually locked out of this article. It's a shame. But this headline, I can't even really see it. It said this headline is Morgan Freeman said it's an insult to be called an African American. And if you guys don't know, he gone on this field so many times. His whole thing is about, man, don't call me African American. I'm just an American. Shut the fuck up. You guys see how these Black capitalists become patriotic bootlickers? And to be honest, they got good reason. I mean, they're not part of this place.
And then you know what happens to you, Nick? You go on a tweet storm, and then you get white liberals who have Morgan Freeman as their reference. Look at you. Yeah, I'm gonna call you a coon because I got Morgan Freeman and all these other Black capitalists who are saying this is the Black way. So, and if you're against those Black capitalists, I'm against you, and it's real and funny.
Oh, my bad, but the reason why I pull that up because Kwame Ture in the intro clip just dismantles that argument, completely dismantles, and why your mind has to be completely colonized for the want to go away from your African roots, go away from your tribe, your people. Imagine how colonized your brain has to be, CJ. People, I'm not an African American. I'm an American. I bleed red, white, and blue. The country that was built on our slave labor that continues to implement a police state that you guys were freaking out. Like everything you guys describe the United States as is what you guys describe gulags. You guys understand? As a communist. Go ahead,
I see Morgan Freeman. Sorry, I see Morgan Freeman as that Dave Chappelle character that's blind. He's like a black KKK member. Only that he's just not blind.
That's why that segment was so good. That those like really great comedy has to have a bit of truth to it. You know what I mean? It could be exaggerated truth. But when Dave Chappelle popped that character out, everyone know what he was talking about. Like that was obviously an exaggerated version of what a black coon, a sellout looks like. You know what I mean? But that skit, I mean, doesn't land if there's not any sort of truth to it. You know what I mean?
Whatever version of that person in your life, that's an exaggerated version. So it's a spectrum. So it might be some people, Nick. That's not an exaggerated version. It might be a small amount of people now, and the vast majority is not that. But I'm just saying it could be a wide swath, and the majority of us are not, seeing this version. We're seeing the Morgan Freeman version. We're seeing the I forget the guy that made the green light, John something, whatever his name, that's married to the hated shit lib, you know, the model girl. That's John Legend. That's his name. John Legend. That's another one I think of as kind of like in that sort of ilk. Not as bad as Morgan Freeman, but but he's up there. But
lib, though.
Yeah, but meanwhile, this is what RBN is doing. You know what I mean? You have all these black capitalists that have several $1 billion that they could accumulate. Because you're talking about, there's 3 athletes that have already made $1 billion in sports. That's Tiger Woods. That's 4. I'm sorry. That's Tiger Woods. That's Mayweather. That's LeBron, and that's Jordan. They were on the front of Sports Illustrated, and when they all hit when they all hit $1 billion made. So you're talking about, that's just 4, and then you got all the celebrities from Bill Cosby. I only mention him because he's one of the richer ones, and you know, all the other people in the background like Byron Allen who's trying to purchase something. So why is all these problems happening with black people when we have these rich black people with a little bit of power within the white power structure choosing to not do anything?
And I'm actually gonna break it down to something that is more simpler than that. And not even just like, could you bring up the special case, you know, the black billionaires? That's rare. Now I'm gonna break it down to something even smaller. What about black landlords? What about black business owners? Because you talking about the billionaires. What about the petite bourgeoisie among the black community? These people are upper middle class, $500,000 a year, $1 million a year. What are they doing? What other than exploiting black labor? Because that's what black business is. Black businesses are just a bunch of people. They got business in the hood, but they're exploiting their labor instead of white person. You know what I mean? How many of these
That's not progress.
And
that's not progress.
I'm being too dramatic. CJ, I'm asking you this to you too. You from Compton. I'm literally a Midwestern boy, right? How many of these black businesses have you guys seen that was like, oh my God, have you guys seen the amazing benefits this black business is giving to the workers? In fact, they get flooded with applications. There are black people applying to this black business all over the city, all over the region. People are traveling to work at this black business because they are so great to their black employees. Doesn't happen. Have you guys ever seen that? Doesn't happen. It usually is some black guy cosplaying as a white oligarch. That's what it is.
Like Martin Luther King's dream is not for your exploiter, your oppressor, to be replaced just with a black overseer. That's not the dream. You get what I'm saying? Exactly. That's not the dream at all.
And to my point, I'm gonna because I almost forgot my point, but I remember this article we broke down before, and I actually still see liberals say this to this day when they said, when you look at what the Biden administration has done for black people, he has some bullshit program that gives grants to black businesses. That's his black agenda. That's what Democrats always do. Not just Biden. I want to be clear. Not just Biden. Democrats in general, they always do this. Like, we got this plan. We got this initiative. We care about the black community. We're going to uplift black entrepreneurs by giving them a 25% off interest rate. Like, how is this helping the black community at all? and then the liberal media, oh my God, Biden and Democrats, they got this black business agenda.
That
like,
is not.
How is this helping JB? For example, how does this help JB? How these black entrepreneur programs, how does it help JB?
Such a good point.
How does it help me? How does it help the black poor? How does it help the black working class? They have nothing like that, guys, at all. And that's why you see the racial income inequality gap continue to get worse, because you got the black millionaires, they balling. You got the black business entrepreneurs, they balling. Meanwhile, the people they exploiting is worse off than the white working class, because black managers got their boot on them just like the white managers got the boot on their workers.
And this is how they sell equality. This is how they sell, we've hit the finish line of equality. Look at John Legend. Look at, all these black celebrities, and they think that's achievement. They say, hey, there's a black person on the Supreme Court. How does that affect me? Like, what does that do for the regular black person?
I find that article. That article we reacted to. Sorry, my bad. But a long time ago, where remember that article is like what Biden did for Black America. Let me see. I'm typing Biden.
Yeah, and you can pull it up whenever you want. I'm just showing our graphics for our chapter. Just pull it up whenever you're ready.
I don't know if this is it. I think this would be funny to look at anyway. But this is the fact sheet. The Biden-Harris administration advances equality opportunity for Black Americans. So this is the White House website. This is what Democrats say when they were like, "What's your Black agenda?" Hey, there are more opportunities for the Black bourgeoisie. We got Karine Jean-Pierre. We uplifting black capitalists.
Lloyd Austin, the freaking I forget, he was on the board of Raytheon.
Yeah.
And Raytheon is out this way. Raytheon is right here off the freeway. Like I can probably drive up. Well, I mean, you know what? I haven't been over there in a while, and it was there when I used to fly a lot. And it's like, yeah, it's a Raytheon. You can see it right when you're driving to LAX. You can see the Raytheon corporate location, man. Crazy.
Yeah, they there it is right here. This I already knew. This is the one line I was just looking for. President Biden has led the most equitable economic recovery on record. That means fucking nothing. Creating more than 12 million jobs since coming to office and helping create new economic opportunities for African Americans, including Black-owned businesses. There it is. Like, it didn't take that long to find. There it is. And made long overdue investments into Black communities. What does that mean? What does that mean? When you say investments to the Black community, are you talking about the medical debt problem?
Are you talking about the police? The police.
Yes.
Do they include that?
When they say we make investments to the Black community, like we funding the cops more, we invest in their community. Think us later. We invested into Black businesses, so that invests to you somehow because we believe in trickle down economics. Liberals who claim they don't, they believe in the Black community. So they say trickle down economics is bullshit. But according to liberals, give all the money to Black businesses and somehow they can trickle down to us. You guys see how they believe in trickle down economics for Black people? Mm-hmm. That's the liberal economic agenda. Anyway, I was just talking shit. If I can find an article, I would. But I don't know if you remember this, CJ, but it's like a few weeks ago where this article was like, the people that said Biden haven't done enough for Black Americans. So I made a complete comprehensive list. And I literally, when I first clicked that article, my eyes perked up. I was like, wait, let me see what you say.
Yeah, I remember that statement.
He appointed Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. Kamala Harris as the first vice president. Kareem Jean-Pierre. And then he said he led an historic investment into Black businesses, which may or may not be true. Like, to be honest, they could be making that shit up. But at the end of the day, you see, that's what they lean into. None for the Black poor. None for the Black workers. None of that will actually increase the quality of life. Because despite, you guys know there's record amount of Black millionaires, but racial income inequality between Black and white people is worse than ever. Worse than the 1960s. How does that make sense? So what did that really tell you? That means Black millionaires are overcompensating for, like, when you look at the raw numbers, the Black millionaires are making it look better than it actually is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
People go, oh my God, look at all the Black millionaires. It's like, motherfuckers, look at how Black people living in South Carolina and Alabama. And, like, I was there. I was in South Carolina.
What is Shama? How did Shama describe it? Didn't she describe it as like a third world? She said I'm from India. And that's how, using the ruling class language is, I would describe it as a third world. When she said she
the UN, and I'll report on this many times. They sent an inspector to look at Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and he concluded that the infrastructure, the quality of life, like access to clean water and stuff like that, is worse than developing countries. You know what I mean? Third world countries. That's what he used. And I always got to mention this. I think you guys know, but I don't like the term third world. It's easier to use because people understand it. But a lot of people, they're like, oh my God, that's a third world developing country. Meanwhile, that country people got healthcare there. People can raise a family there. I still opting not to have kids because what the fuck? I'm going to have kids while I'm paying this goddamn rent? You know what I mean? And all my bills, that doesn't even make sense to me. But meanwhile, the third world country, people can raise a kid, raise a family, they can buy a home without being in debt. And there's a video I played from Uganda like months and months ago where this woman was like, you guys say Uganda is poor. I own my home. I own my car. People can raise their kids in Uganda. Now, I am not get what I'm saying wrong. I am not saying Uganda has money. I am not saying they are well off. But when you say third world, you got, this is a third world country. What is that? Where are we? What do you call people who are working class people who are opting not to have kids? Like how many New York Times reports have you guys seen with millennials opting not to have kids? What do you call that? Or working people not having kids because they can't afford it. You got people that skipping medical treatments because they cannot afford a doctor. Is that third world? You guys see how you see how that kind of propaganda tactic to uplift. Oh, we the first world. We the greatest ever been. Meanwhile, look at those dirty people in the global south, they third world trash. Meanwhile, they happier than people in America. All polls always show international surveys. America's among the most unhappiest people in the world. People way on paper poorer than us. Happy as motherfucker. You know why? Because they poor as hell, but they can raise their kids. They can see a doctor. They got a house they're not in debt over. You got, and these are things that Americans, their mind is so decolonized. Yeah, you make $100,000 a year, but you're in medical debt, motherfucker. You don't own your house, you don't own your car. Well, how wealthy and prosperous are you? You're not happy because you locked down this office job, so you're taking these pills because people told you your brain is broken. You know what I mean? These are things that people don't even realize how our society has failed us, and you think you're happy, and then we got insane depression rates, insane suicide rates, insane mental health, and people are like, oh my God, we have first world country. People's brains are breaking. And I'm not
Nick,
saying
this is
people get mad when I say this. Sorry, I'll pass it to you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
People get mad when I say I'm not denying that mental health is not a thing. I'm saying that people are misdiagnosing the problem. The mental health problems is because of our failing society. But go ahead, I know you want to chime in.
Right, these conditions. I forget. Professor Anthony Zunkas, who deals with like trauma, he was talking about this, like how these are conditions of despair because people are in despair of what the system is doing to them. I do want to include this because let's talk about our chapters because this is getting close where we really want to start hitting the pavement. RBN does move slow. We are a slower pace. We like to, take things steady. So maybe we are launching our chapters a little slower than some people want. Too. yeah, that's what I'm saying. But we are finally here, and we are making sure we're reaching out to those who listen, those who watch us and listen to us. If you're interested, if you want to be a part of something local in your area and you're in these local areas, please reach out to us and help be a part of what we're doing in your area. This one here's Detroit. Just want to show everybody's graphic. Here is Orlando. I like JB's pictures the most out of everybody's. Here's mine with the cat. I guess I'm gonna be known with the cat. And then Nick.
If you're in KC, hit me up, fam. Hit me up.
Yes. And then last but certainly not least, probably the most popular. I know, most popular, Savvy Sabs in Boston, and she's kind of already started. So this is how you can get started. And I'll give you an example for Boston. It says, are you in Boston or any surrounding area? Are you ready to be active in your local area? Join our Boston chapter. You simply, in the subject line, when you email us, put Boston RBN and email us at info@Rev Black Network. That's all you got to do, and we will respond. And the same thing for KC. I'll make sure you to give everybody that example. Are you in KC, any surrounding areas? And are you ready to get active? Join the KC chapter. In the subject line of your email, put Kansas City RBN, and that's the email, info@Rev Black. And it's the same for all of us. I won't go through each one, but then same thing for Long Beach in the subject line, same thing for Orlando in the subject line, and the same thing in Detroit. Now, the library that's being built out in Detroit will also be a lot of things, but that will be the location also for the Detroit chapter. Rome already said this. So that'll be the location for the Detroit chapter meetings. I'm not going to say that's the location, but some of the meetings will be there. So get active. We're already getting active out in Detroit. I would say probably Rome is the furthest ahead. But all of us are following right behind. So make sure you reach out. And then let me just continue with the announcements, Nick, and then we can get to the first story, whichever one you want to start with.
Yeah,
it's fine with me. All right, so let's get to a couple of more announcements. Our Substack. Join our Substack if you want to get notifications when we go live. And Grant, I want to make an announcement. And I don't know if you know this, Nick, or we talked about it in the meeting yesterday, but looks great. We have completely streamlined our notifications. So if we drop 5 clips, you're not going to get 5 different emails. You're going to get one, and it'll show you all the clips for that day. So you get and it started today. So if you got the clips for April 17th, it'll say April 17th clips. and it's like 4 or 5 that's in there. So we've narrowed it now to just one clip. So you'll get a live notification, and then you get one clip notification. But so join our Substack for those notifications. Thank you for those that recently subscribed, got us over the 32,500. We're being severely suppressed, so we're telling everybody to double check to make sure you haven't been unsubscribed. RBN memberships, $3.99. Our website has been updated. I'll pop that on the screen, and this will be the second to last thing we go over here. Here is our website. So homepage is still the same. What we updated is now we're launching chapters. So this is what I want to show you. We merged chapters and members. So now when you click chapters, you'll also find members. So our launch is technically May 2023. We've added a couple of additional goals in some of our areas. So these are goals we want to do over the 5 locations, not just, we're not doing each of these at each location. This is what we're doing over the 5 locations. And then since each member is part of, that's the launch city for a chapter. So we kind of merged that. So now Boston, when you click Boston and learn she's Sabby's the chapter lead, when you click that, that's when you'll see the profile of the lead of your chapter. You can click the little links. Once we get some more information, there will be a write-up here once we get on the ground more in Boston to put what we want. But everybody has that from Long Beach to Kansas City to Detroit. So that's one update we have on the website. Check out all the updates on the website, and that is it, Nick. Oh, hit that like button to get us to 200 likes, and that is it, Nick. I'll pass it back to you.
So I want to cover the article because we understand. Sure. We can go to the AOC story first, and this is something that we've been covering for quite some time: the rail strike, labor, and the squad's betrayal. And if you ask me personally, like, there's 2 primary things that's going to be on the record of Bernie Sanders and the squad for the rest of their life. And this is the things that they won't ever be able to live down. And that's voting for unending aid to Ukrainian Nazis and supporting Joe Biden's geopolitical agenda. And another one, breaking the rail strike, and then lying about it. And now there's a reckoning going on. And we reacted to the David Sirota interview with AOC last week, because the second I saw it, I was like, wow, AOC really fucked up here. AOC really dropped the ball. And it's actually unbelievable how bad her performance is, even to the point where David Sirota's own audience was calling her out, calling David Sirota out for his softball interview. But in this interview, you also see why AOC actually do not go on independent media. Why don't AOC go on to have a conversation with Cenk Uygur, Sam Cedar? They're going to be nice to her, right? No, AOC is so incompetent that any question that is from left field, she's going to mess up. And that was including the rail strike. And now we see why she avoids independent media, because after her David Sirota interview, you have people that was like, what the fuck? And I'm not talking about RBN people, because Jacob wrote this article. You have people that, and we were talking about this behind the scene, that was like, holy shit, AOC just went on David Sirota and lied about everything. She sounds like Mark Taylor Green now. People not even RBN. It's like a shocking revelation.
This is the levers. This is the lever. Now, you know, the lever is all progressive sort of people. So this is their audience reaction.
Yeah.
Like, which is like, and I always, and when this happened, we did a couple of streams because it was big news. They broke a strike, and we were like, they're never going to recover from this. Like, this is something they're never going to recover from. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. And I told you guys, the Bernie Industrial Complex, they manufacture consent for these progressives, and they will cover like, oh my God, Bernie Sanders went on Fox News and he slayed. AOC was at a congressional hearing and she owned a conservative. They will do stories like that all day, but they won't cover like Bernie Sanders' horrific interview that we cover, where he pretty much punted the ball in Ukraine. they won't cover AOC. Now I've been paying attention. How many of them did video about AOC's David Schroeder interview? Because it will make AOC and their people look bad by doing so. So with that said, I'm gonna pull this quote because Ryan Grimm also has quite a bit to answer for, and Shama Sawan had more than enough of him because he was helped propagating this lie. Because Jacobin and people who actually stand for union to strikes, they were baffled. They heard the interview, they were expecting, they were like, oh my God, David Schroeder and AOC hooked up. This should be a good one. Then they watched the interview and they heard the question, and they were like, hold up. She just straight up lying about the rail worker strike, and this is what Jacobin covered today. So this is the headline, and I'll pull the article up after your initial take. The Railroad Workers United, they quote, "We will never concede our right to strike." Now, this is coming after AOC went on David Schroeder's show and pretty much bullshitted and lied and pretend that she's listening to rank and file. That's the same thing that Ryan Grimm was trying to pretend as well. So here's the article. I'll pull up the full article in full, but CJ,
yeah, it's not that long. I think we can get through it. It's not that long. Yeah, it's not that long at all.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it is. I don't know if other people.
And that will give you guys more context. So this is written by Jacobin, right? Because at this point, I feel like if you're not calling out AOC and in this obvious con job, I mean, like this Barack Obama level con job, that hurts your credibility at this point. And that was some people under David Schroeder video. Do you remember one of the top comments? Was that, man, David, even you having her on kind of hurt your credibility considering how much you just sold out.
I remember that comment. Yeah, I remember that comment.
So you have to be so, and you hear like TYT and them head fainting, like, man, we don't even AOC and the squad account, but we had disagreements with them because you can't pretend they're our allies anymore. So this is Jacobin Ryan here. That's the headline. I'm gonna read the first paragraph and look at what I'll read this and I'll show you what they found in David Schroeder interview. Congressional progressives, including AOC, have defended their railroad strike vote by pointing to rank and file support. Here, Railroad Workers United clarifies the group has always opposed denying rail workers their right to strike. Always opposed that. And I asked Ryan Grimm to comment on this, and guess what? He's doubling down.
Oh no!
We'll get to that later. He's doubling down.
Did you see their tweet? I know you researched this, and I don't want to give away the setup because I like the way you're going. I just want to make sure if you have it, if you don't, then I'm going to look for it. Did you know that RWU tweeted out and tagged AOC? If you don't have that tweet, this just happened yesterday.
Oh, I haven't find that thing.
Yeah, so I'll save it and I'll send it to you and everything. So, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is rebuilding the context, Brian, for everyone who haven't been following this. Look at this. So we obviously respond to the David Schroeder AOC interview because how could we not? Like, you have AOC in this interview being exposed by someone who's not even trying to expose her. She's being exposed by her own incompetence. As I said before, this is why you don't see AOC on independent media. And we also, in that breakdown, we talked about it literally after we finished it. That was like the longest we ever spent.
That was a long one.
The professional managerial class, boutique left, because AOC is like the queen of the boutique leftists, right? And that was like a master class performance. There was so much to break down. There was so much nonstop lying, so jam-packed. It took a long time just to explain everything. Our longest breakdown ever in this interview. So that obviously got the attention of Jacobin and other progressives. Look, this is where they found it. In that interview with David Schroeder, where we was flabbergasted at the blatant lies that was coming from AOC. And even Jacobin, the people who always defend AOC, even they was like, dude, this shit is crazy. Like, we got really to argue about this shit. We can't think with this. Like, Ryan Grimm, he already decided he's going down with the ship.
Yeah, he's going down.
Whoever wrote this article, the editor that greenlit it, they made a decision that we aren't sinking with this ship. We're not.
Hey, when you're a captain, you're supposed to go down. Remember, he's captain. Save a politician. You got to go down with the ship.
Yeah. So let's continue.
That's funny.
In defending her votes, one to approve 7 days of sick leave for rail workers, and one to support the president's bill to block the strike. AOC states that she was acting on the wishes of RW and other groups of rail workers. She states in the interview, when you look after the vote, folks like RWU was saying, this is what we asked them to do. Later, she says, because, for example, with the rail vote, the only partners that I had leading up to that were rail workers. And if that's what they asked us to do, that's what we did. But AOC is clouding the reality of the situation by referring to it as a vote. Now, this is the Jacobin writer. This is something that Ryan Grimm doesn't understand, guys. You guys Ryan Grimm wants to convince us, him and his fancy degrees, him and his high esteemed journalist position, like one that leads at the Intercept.
Washington Bureau Chief.
Washington Bureau Chief at the Intercept. He has the show with Breaking Points, one of the leading new quote-unquote independent media channels. They almost got 1 million subscribers. And Ryan Grimm wants you to believe he don't understand this concept. AOC, with her degrees, with her professional managerial class bona fides, with her, she's a member of Congress, extremely smart, way smarter than us. We just dumb peasants. But AOC and Ryan Grimm do not understand this concept. AOC is clouding the reality of the situation. And apparently David Schroeder doesn't either, because David Schroeder doesn't push back at all when she lies to his audience, doesn't ask her any follow-up questions. In fact, David Schroeder probably believed it. Why would you allow AOC to go on your show and lie about breaking the strike without any pushback? That's why people in his own audience was calling him out.
And another thing, Nick,
go ahead.
He is the editor at large at Jacobin. So I wonder, why wouldn't he push back when did he knew this article was coming up? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, what is going on, David? Yeah, if you scroll all the way up or somewhere in the article, it tells you how or maybe it's the tweet. It says how he still is the editor and editor at large at Jacobin. So I wonder if he knew about this article.
That says two things. The first thing is not actually bad on David Schroeder. That shows that David Schroeder allowed a lot of editorial independence, which is good, right?
That's good.
It also shows that David Schroeder either knew this and didn't want to be rude and didn't want to be uncivil. So he might know that AOC was lying to his audience because he's the editor at Jacobin who knows this. But if he puts back at AOC and call her a liar, that would be uncivil, CJ. And it may cost her a future interview with AOC. You guys see the problem here?
Yes.
You guys see the problem? The first part is good, though. That obviously, based on this article, David Schroeder allows a lot of editorial independence. That's the good part. So I'll leave with a positive and negative. That's positive. The negative is obviously they don't call out because of access journalism. So let me continue.
I just looked it up. Yes, he's still editor at large at Jacobin. Yes, just to make sure he's still current. Yeah.
I'll start from the beginning part again. AOC is clouding the reality of the situation by referring to the vote. Like, I love how they put the vote. Like she always say, there's the vote. There was the vote. And they mentioned when in fact there was two separate and distinctive votes. Ryan Grimm doesn't understand this. One bill proposed 7 days of paid sick time, while the other bill blocked rail workers from striking. These bills were completely independent from one another. Ryan Grimm, big brain Ryan Grimm don't understand this. Big brain. Professional managerial class. He's way more qualified than I am, right? He don't know that. And this is the point that you make all the time, CJ, which is a great one. If you are a leader, which AOC is not, you inform the workers of the reality of the situation. Right. And you support, and your position as a leftist is we do not strike because the second bill that gives you paid sick leaves has no chance of passing. So this is not, as the left leader, I am advising you on this. I am a leader, so I'm a leader on this. AOC is like, you guys want me to leave? I'm following your direction, which is bullshit. Right. Let me be clear. That's bullshit. That's an excuse. But what her excuse, what she wants you to believe is still weak. She's like, I'm not a leader. I know I get paid $170,000 a year. I know I present myself as a leader, but when it's time to lead workers, I'm gonna punt the ball to union capitalists that are going to help the Democratic Party break the strike. And so even if you believe her, what does that say about her leadership? That she's not able to guide the workers to the correct decision. In fact, she leads them off a cliff. So now let's go to our analysis. What I think is true, because I can do it both ways. You guys understand, no matter how, you got my radical position versus anyone else. Every way, AOC looks bad. My position is AOC made these people up. Ryan Graham and AOC left completely make these people up, or they found one worker that agreed with them and they used that as justification to override the will of the workers. But despite this obvious situation that most people can see, they still going with that lie that they will work on behalf of the workers. Now I'll read this part right here, and I'll pass to you here soon. I'll actually put another tweet here soon. RWU cannot speak with any certainty as to what the official position of the various craft unions' respective leaderships was on the question of blocking the strike, but RWU made it crystal clear by our words and action throughout contract negotiations while we were in full support of 7-paid sick leave. RWU would never be in favor of any legislation denying road workers our human right to withhold our labor. So what they're saying here, this is them very politely smacking AOC and Ryan Graham right in the mouth. Because the first part, we cannot speak with any certainty on what the official position over various people. Like, so what they're saying is, yeah, you might find one person who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So yeah, we can't speak for the one person who's an idiot who want to vote, who said we should break a strike. But the general position of our union has been, we do not favor any legislation which lead to breaking a strike. So when Ryan Graham and LC say, oh, we found rank and file member, yeah, you for one, you probably man them up. Secondly, who cares if you found the one person who's a dumbass? Who cares?
I was trying to find the article, and I'll find it and maybe put it in the description later. But because we covered the segment where I forget the art, I think it was with JB. The person or people who they're claiming these are DSA members out of the Jamal Bowman office. So it has suspicion already all over it. And to your point, either way, whether it's your point of saying these people were made up and then they got, go get some people to act like, you're in it. You're also DSA. You're also that part of that union. Okay, help us craft this story. That could have happened if they're to be nefarious. Or if it was a different way, you just simply convince somebody who doesn't know. How many people? There's people right now, Nick, that if you hold a Starbucks vote, you're going to get people that say no. So what does that prove? You get what I'm saying? So if you have a vote, 25 people, right? It's a vote of 24-1. AOC and Ryan Graham is getting a quote from the one person and saying, look, that's what they're doing. Go ahead.
And that's still what Ryan Graham is going with. To this day, still going with that. Last part I read of the article. Make sure you gotta check it's not a long article, but I think you gotta get the gist of it. This is the last part I want to read. RWU is in favor of any legislation that would grant any relief to the barbaric working conditions we contend with, but we would never concede our right to strike. We thank AOC and other members of the House of Representatives and the Senate for their votes in support of the sick leave, but we are not happy at all with her or others in both chambers. You guys see how they don't separate AOC and Biden and the Republicans? Because Ryan Graham and the Progressives, they tend to do that. They were like, oh, yeah, I know they broke the strike, but at least AOC wanted them sick. Nah, nigga, we ain't separating. All y'all voted to break the strike, and they don't separate them either. We're not. They didn't say we kind of happy with you, but we more. No, they said we're not happy with her and others in both chambers who voted to deny the rail workers the right to strike. And this is the tweet version I actually didn't see.
Yes. So the reason why it's good to have this is because so that people don't this is Jacobin just quoting some random. No. Yeah. Now you see this is the union. This is not some one person, Nick, like you know what I mean, like one union member who let me go to Jacobin and say this. This is the union coming out saying this. So go ahead.
This is I'm glad you found this. So this is a tweet from the union. I ain't seen this, so I'm reading this live. AOC is clouding the reality of the situation by referring to the vote when in fact there were two separate and distinctive votes. And do you guys think there is not a coordinated strategy to get AOC and Ryan Grimm to mislead people over this?
Yes, of course.
I think the question is all I have to say there. So one bill proposed 7 days of paid sick time, while the other blocked rail workers from striking. These bills were completely independent of one another. So they be like, "Oh my God, we supported the bill that gave them paid sick leave." Okay, what? There was 2 bills you supported breaking the strike. You dishonest charlatan. And when asked, because this is Rail Workers United calling this out, and the same with Worker Strike Back. They, despite being slighted, they are professional organizations who's not going to put emotions behind the betrayal, right? So Worker Strike Back is not going to make a big fuss over AOC and the professional managerial class ghosting them, but I am. RWU, despite this, is still being very professional. They just, in a very professional, nice way, they're like, "Hey, ma'am, we are very upset with you for betraying us, ma'am. Thank you for, in general, being saying nice things, but we are upset." Well, my attitude, I'm the anger translator. You motherfuckers betrayed us and broke a strike and did something that is one of the greatest sins a socialist could commit. That advocate of the worker could commit, that there is no going back on. That's the anger. That's the feeling you should have after this story. Now, this is my coverage of this. One of the other coverage of it. I saw this tweet. I read this tweet before.
Yeah.
Well, I asked Ryan Grimm.
Oh, you tagged him. Yeah, there we go.
I want to give you a fair opportunity because a lot of people are shitting on him right now. Look at his name. Because since this article came out, everyone like, "Ryan Grimm, hey, I remember you said, what was that shit you were talking about?" So I'll let you guys know I'm not the only one. He replied to me though. I'm not the only one. But everyone's in the light of this article, in light of everything that happened after the David Stroll interview, everyone looking at Ryan Grimm like, "Hey, bro, what the fuck?" Because you're the reason why AOC's probably saying this shit. To be honest,
yeah.
AOC and her team was like, "What? How can we get ourselves out of the situation?" Then you guys saw Ryan Grimm. I got you. I got a story that sounds plausible. I told you guys, one of two things happened. That way or the other way, where AOC was like, "We have a plan. We have a cover story. Who's our guy in the inside that will spread this for us? We call Ryan Grimm. He has no shame. He will say it. He will lie for us." So it either happened that way or Ryan Grimm pitched to them. Because you are not going to convince me that it's a coincidence that they both ended on the same position, this same lie, that they just so happen to be on the same gaslighting wavelength. We're going to repeat the same
because
lie.
Nick, it proves coordination is, since it's now been proven that that's a lie.
Yes.
Because you all just randomly came up with this specific, it's too specific to be random. That means it's coordination. 100%. There's no other way.
And we don't owe them benefit of doubt. Until you prove me otherwise, that's what it seems to me. And that's what I'm going with. You don't deserve benefit of doubt. So it's 100% coordinated as shown by your actions. So I asked Ryan Grimm, "You have any comment in your role in parodying this lie?" And he doubles down. I found one person that said something.
The article addresses this. And he keep pretending, Nick, and acting like the point is not that let's do it both ways, like we always say. Let's say go it is. The point is not you didn't find one person. The point is that's one person out of my example, the 24 of the other Starbucks workers who voted for the union. You're picking the person in the minority of the union. That means that person isn't saying what the majority of the workers want. So you're not doing what the workers want because the majority of workers don't want that, and you know that by the vote. And we were saying this during the segments at the time. We were like, why are they saying that? They clearly are telling you they're ready to strike. And now you're trying to act like that's not the case?
So there's a tweet that came from RVW directly saying that they upset with AOC.
Exactly.
Squad from the group. But Ryan Grimm picks this one person out. Who said, this is his quote. Gruters, who RVW called the whole debacle a betrayal by both parties and urged exploration of a third party, similarly said, this is one person, not the group, one person is saying the hostility aimed at Bowman and the others were misplaced. So Ryan Grimm found one person who liked the squad. And Jamal Bowman. It was like, come on,
allegedly
mad at them. And this is what the
who's allegedly a Jamal Bowman out of his office. You understand? Allegedly, because I'm saying allegedly until I get the article. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll pass to you then. But he said, we always knew we were going to be forced back to work by Congress. We just didn't know when and under what terms. Rail labor isn't concerned about the squad. It's such a non-issue for us. So this is one quote. And Ryan Grimm said, oh my God, the RWU is not upset at the squad because it's one person said or not, even though RWU is literally tweeting at the squad. How does that? So you see, and for one, it's important to remember, I am questioning Ryan Grimm over his role. My tweet, I said, Ryan Grimm, you have any statement about your role about lying and gaslighting over the fact that the squad was following RWU's order? Because that was the position of Ryan Grimm. The position of Ryan Grimm was AOC and squad was following RWU. So I am calling him out. Hey, you want to correct that? Considering RWU, the group is saying they're not. And his response is to quote this guy out. How is this a response to you lying about the story? It is not. It is absolutely not. And but I'm going to continue the statement. And he's saying, yeah, it is a strategic question. And I can see the pros and cons to what we did. And it is what we did in the moment. And yeah, I get it. Is it strike breaking on one hand? Yes. So even the guy that Ryan Grimm got to defend the squad and him, even he said, yeah, you guys kind of broke the strike. But don't get that mad at them. That's your statement, Ryan Grimm? Is calling a guy that said, yeah, the squad and them broke a strike, but you guys shouldn't be that mad at them. That's your statement in response of you lying for the squad and you lying in terms of strike breaking. So if you guys don't, once again, let me play this again, and I want to see how this makes sense. I didn't even reply to his tweet. I'm like, all right, I gotta go live with this.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? You see here.
Wait, let's break it down again. Let me make sure I understand what you're saying.
I'm gonna go through it again.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So I quote the article from Jacobin, and I'm going through with you guys because this dude Ryan Graham is weird and he's snaky. Like, why would you even put this article here? That's not what I'm asking for you. I quote the article we just covered, exposing how RWU called AOC out for her lie on David Schroeder's show, which is the same line that you've been repeating, Ryan Graham. So my question is, do you have any comment on your role in parroting this lie? So his comment is quoting this guy who also said the squad broke the strike. And the only thing he says is that we shouldn't be that mad at the squad. So how is that a defense of you lying on behalf of the establishment, Ryan? That is not a statement from you. This guy is not acting in good faith. And this is what Shama Sawant called out. Is this someone who's acting in good faith? What the fuck did this tweet have to do with you lying about the squad? None at all. I was trying to find Rome tweet, because Rome be calling him out on it. I can't find it. I hope he didn't get banned. Rome's calling him out on it. But anyway.
Yeah, I saw that too. I retweeted.
This is someone whose reputation is going to continue to be driven in the mud because everyone remembers what he did. Now, if you go to Ryan Graham's timeline, this man has been in defense mode over this because he replied to me. He quoted him, quoting someone else in response to this, because when you defend this lie for the squad, you showed your hand. You showed your hand. And now you have workers, and even Jacobin, many people who are not as far left as we are. I mean, like, these people are sock dems. You know what I mean? Like, Democrat voters. Even they are like, hey, you guys got to explain this shit to me. Jacobin wrote that article. You guys got to explain. That's not a good interview. That's not a good answer. But Ryan Grimm is still doubling down and saying, we found one guy who said, not that big of a deal. But they did break a strike. We shouldn't be that mad, though. So that's okay. So that's why I lied. Because one person said the squad's not that evil. How did that make sense? CJ, anything else you want to add? Any other takes that you have?
Yeah. So Oh, actually, no, not text. So I just want to add a couple of headlines here about this. And because Jacobin, this particular article is good, but Jacobin has been pretty bad as far as their track record on this, because they also was trying to help cover. Like before they did their research, maybe, Nick, they kind of went with the story. This is just one of the articles that I was trying to find the Jamal Bowman point. And it's a longer article. I'm pretty sure it's in here, but it's a longer article. But this is just them trying to help or it either maybe they believed it. Maybe, yeah, you know, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to give Jacobin. So maybe they ran what Ryan Graham and AOC was saying because they didn't hear otherwise. Maybe that's the point. But now, after this latest reporting, they have heard otherwise, and maybe that's why the story has come out, because it's like, wow, people is, or maybe it's more like this, Nick. It's like, wow, we tried to run that story. People didn't buy it. Like RBN and then was like, oh, fuck no to that shit. And it's like, people didn't buy it. So we might as well come around, and now we need to go ahead and act like we're mad and stuff. So
I think
now they're doing that.
Split here. To that point, I'll pass it back to you. I think there's a split here among capital, right? Do we stink with the ship of the squad, or do we save our own career and credibility? And there are people who decide to sing with the ship. Ryan Grimm is obviously one of the people that sing with the ship. I think there's people who thought the squad lie was plausible, thought that Ryan Grimm's lie was plausible, but once they realized it wasn't, they're like, fuck, I ain't going down with this ship. Now they're critical of it. You know what I mean? So I think that's mostly what it is. But yeah, the Jamal Bowman thing is particularly interesting. But the big point of this segment is just something that they're not going to be able to run away from. Nothing that, like, road workers are not going to forget this. Socialists are not going to forget this. They're not going to forget them betraying and stabbing the backs of workers. And now the only reason we even have this story, and this is kind of why I mentioned to in the beginning this segment, was that this is because AOC went on David Schroeder, and David Schroeder mentioned this, and he offered no pushback. So despite what RWU is saying, despite what we all knew, and this is what this would be my immediate pushback if I had a chance to interview AOC and she replied like that. David Schroeder allows her to lie to her audience, but even by doing that, she still looks bad. She looked bad with a guy who's not asking follow-up questions. A guy just asking basic questions. What now? You guys see why she retreats to Alec Wagner. Now you guys see why she does interview with Chris Hayes, because they're gonna talk about red blue shit. How can you fuck with a red blue interview? You can't. Republicans bad, Trump bad, our democracy is broken. January 6th, bam, you did it. So AOC's been coasting on that shit. So then she go on one independent media outlet, David Schroeder, and she fails this interview. Now do you guys see why they refuse to do any, not even Cenk Uygur, Sam Cedar, even the softest Mike Figueredo, David Doe, the softest among us. Hell, Voss probably have us sweating. They are that intellectually lazy as leaders. But CJ, I see you put something up. I'll pass.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to find an article, but I found the discussions around the article. So this is the person, as we're referring to. He's saying, why would RWU name AOC and Bowman in a press release? Are they not Democrats? Members say in the press release that they wanted Dems to vote no on TA. AOC is saying they wanted her to vote no. Now, there's more in this thread. There's a lot, and this is the thread that talks about it. I literally posted a press release from the union compromise, and there's the same sort of thinking, basically, Nick, that this is a compromised member of the union that's kind of running PR for the Dems, or help to run the PR. And this is December, Nick, so we didn't have any coordination with this person who calls themselves Black Left Twitter, and that's this. They're having this conversation about that. About how why is Jamal Bowman, why are they so closely involved in this? It's a long thread, but I wanted to focus on the part just where they talked about that. But to me, this is just one of another blocks, Nick, in the long line of, I would say, probably the last 2 years. They just have been getting L after L after L after L. And this strike one was one of the bigger ones. And I mean, from the parliament to the Ukraine votes or the multiple Ukraine votes, they have just been getting L after L. And it's showing up in the voting. This is why Nina Turner couldn't win, because she is. Some people say, I'm not buying into this. This is why Marianne Williamson is not tracking off. If you go and look at Marianne Williamson's post, it's a bunch of people and like, oh, fuck y'all, I ain't doing this shit no more. Like, just go and look and see. This is they're not gonna recover from this, Nick. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're not gonna recover. They're not gonna cover this at all, not at all. And they tried to cover for them in the squad, and that's why people who support taking over the Democratic Party should be more upset with AOC and Bernie than they are at us. Yeah. They more upset at Jimmy and us for calling these people out. We don't support the strategy of taking over the Democratic Party. If anything, we should be cheering these people on, because one of the biggest people that convert people to the third party, people like the squad who convince young people that shit's not worth it. But if you want to take over the Democratic Party, and if you have dreams to be the next congressional candidate, you should be very upset at AOC and Bernie Sanders, because they pulled the ladder up. As I said many times, they pulled the goddamn ladder up, and the people are more upset at people talking about their mishaps than that. Now, one thing that is very telling about the David Stroll interview, this is my last take, is how nervous AOC was, and how she degraded. And I said in the interview, she was coaching to a potato. Like, if you watch the Jimmy Dore interview with AOC, if you watch any pre-defeat of Crowley interview with AOC, she was immensely oppressive. She tricked Glenn Greenwald. Glenn Greenwald talks about it all the time. We had a conversation about it. How she had AOC on, he had AOC on the show. He was like, bro, I'm done with politicians. So he said he had the intentions of grilling her. Like, he wanted to, like, this is why I don't fuck it with AOC. And then he, like, after the interview, like, damn, dude, she's legit. Like, she was good on song. She was
so he thought
everything else. She went from that to an interview. Watch it. You guys seen it. She was looking around, fidgeting, being very nervous speaking. You guys know why that is? Because AOC has so many L's now, it can't be chalked up to coincidence anymore. So when you first get in there, you got some few laws like, oh God, we trying. Yeah, I know we voted for Nancy Pelosi. Oh, I know we didn't force the vote, but come on, we trying. Yeah, I know. Come on, man. We voted for you. Can we try? But now you got L after L after L, to the point where even David Schroeder has to mention them. So AOC completely lost her confidence, and she knows she's been exposed as a fraud. So when you watch the interviews, that confidence, dynamite progressive speaker that you guys seen is gone. She's a nervous, mess, because that's what happens when you know you're being exposed. When she's doing these answers, she knows she's being exposed. She knows she's not sounding great, and she knows the left is smelling something, and she's not as confident as she used to be. And to be honest, guys, that is the part that is glorious, because when you watch the body language of this, you know that she knows we are on her ass.
All right, because she knows like every inch of this interview is going to be meticulously analyzed about my answers on these things. She already knows this.
Yeah,
she knows this. That's what makes her nervous in these. But go ahead, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I remember in the interview where she essentially unprompted went on a rant complaining about left YouTubers like Jimmy Dore and RBN. That was not the question. The question David Schroeder asked her was about the criticism she getting about Ukraine and rail strike breaking. After her worst salad that even Jacob had to write about, she later unprompted went to this thing about, you guys think about it. Actually, a lot of this left infight is being inflamed by people who actually benefit from criticizing me for breaking the strike. These people benefit from criticizing me from vote for Ukraine. So, guys, she's on her Zaza burner accounts, watching all the Jimmy Dore videos, and RBN chatter, and she's like, these motherfucking grifters! They fucking grifters! Always criticizing me and breaking strikes because they been. So this is something that eats on her. The reason why I say unprompted, that's important, because not like David Stroll, like, what's your thoughts on the left independent media people who are taking advantage of your... No, unprompted, she went on this rant. This is eating at her, guys. This shit. Every time she's asked about what her left criticism is, she think, goddamn Jimmy Dore, fucking Jimmy Dore, telling people what I'm fucking doing. That's to me extremely telling, isn't it?
She can barely tweet out, Nick. People are dumping on her. I remember for like 2 months, every tweet she was tweeting, people were like, what? Strikebreaker, scab.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they still have a trickle of that. But I remember for a solid 2 months, I was like, wow, this shit is like prevalent. They're not living this down. And there goes the Jaja account. And it kind of proves that she does care about all of this, is what is being said. She's watching independent media. She knows what's going on. They're watching all this stuff, trying to keep abreast. That's why they're staying out. That's why they know to stay away. That's how they know, because they know we're talking about them.
They know what shows to go on and what show not to go on. You know what I mean? They 100% know what's going on. And that's why I think that they hard pivoted. Like Jamal Bowman, like all for like he's doing the red blue gun thing. Like that's his thing now. He's the guy who advocates for gun control. He's hate Republicans. Like they not even trying to win over the left, CJ, anymore. They all lean into red blue liberal culture war bullshit. Because they know they lost the left, to our point, because they see what the fuck we talking about. They see our criticism, they're like, God damn, we lost them. Pivot. We need to get the Jennifer Rubins.
Do you think this is why? On our side. Do you think this is connected to what Jake and Anna did about kind of cutting the? They're like, wow, yeah, we need to pivot and we got to cut our offspring because they are talking about left shit, even though it's quasi left. Like when you're talking about quasi, meaning they're only talking about this as other stuff, because trans rights is not quasi left. It is a left thing, but it's like the only thing or one of the few things they're talking about. Nothing that's really challenging capital. But so when they cut those apron strings in my segment I covered, I was like, this shit is suspicious. This is not just no random argument. This is like real suspicious to me. And I think this is connected to what you're saying here. How they know we don't got the left no more. So we're just going to make a hard pivot to replace the aging, legacy media, because now that's coming to us. We're going to be what now is going to be known as legacy media in 10 years. So.
Yeah, because at this point, man, maybe I was mistaken. I don't know, but I feel like they used to at least try. You know what I mean? Now I've been over the course of this last year of having the Nick and CJ show, of us covering what they do, all the mistakes. I'm like, dude, they don't care what we think now, bro. There's no way they care what we think. And they're fucking this much up. They're like, all right, we already lost, so we might go full in now. Because there's no way to describe. Even I'm shocked. Like I have no faith in Bernie, AOC, and the squad anymore. But then even I'm shocked when they break the strike. When they broke the road strike, I'm like, bro, really? Really?
I remember that too.
Really? Like, bro, I didn't think they would do that.
We did 2 streams on it in like back-to-back days, and it went. Both of them did great because nobody could believe. We were like, "What?" And it was like you didn't even need to break it. Like it literally would have passed if all of the squad didn't vote for it. It would have still passed. And it was like you didn't even need to do this. What are you doing?
So when they do stuff like that, they prioritizing their position with the establishment, with the knowledge of the people that still like AOC. Like people who think highly of AOC, like David Schroeder. I couldn't get Marianne Wilson to say a bad thing about Bernie AOC, even though I literally explained the criticism to her face. I just see it differently than you do. I won't explain why you're wrong. I'm gonna just say I see it differently than you do. You know what I mean? If AOC and their calculus is, if anyone is still with us, they're gonna die with us at this point. So they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna break the strike. Trust me, Ryan Grimm, they'll find a way to work backwards from their conclusion, and that's how they're doing things. And
I'm very suspicious. If you get an interview with AOC, I'm suspicious now.
Yeah.
If she's interviewing with you, that means she is basically holding a red flag saying, this person I can trust because they're not going to do anything wrong to expose me any further. So spare me the interviews, and people already know. Just like that #1 comment in that lever video. RBN is gonna roast the hell out of this shit, or however that comment was. Like, it's still the #1 comment. Nick, I went and checked a couple of days. Still #1 comment.
So CJ, I have
pretty funny.
Have a propaganda report. Our next time you can do some quick announcements real quick, and I'll get set up. But the preview to this segment is, I think I found one of my favorite news hosts. Steve, this guy, I had to write his name down so I remember. Steve Hilton from Fox News. This is the second time I'm featuring him on the channel. You know him when you see him. He does a segment completely dissecting Biden's foreign policy and describing how the United States has fallen in influence. And the reason why this guy is entertaining, because he will tell the truth about what the United States is doing that's wrong, but it's not like in the Tucker Carlson way. You know what I mean? It's in the straight up neocon way. Like, oh my God, you're ruining our imperialism, Biden. The way what he says is true, but the way he criticizes him is also worth analyzing. So this guy has been a quick. I never heard this guy till literally like a few weeks ago, but this guy has been a quick favorite of mine. But we get to that next.
Okay, let's do some announcements. Yeah, let's do a couple of announcements. First thing, I'm gonna bring back up our website here, and did I take it down? So let's go to the next thing then. So we're at 100, we're approaching 200 likes, and we are at 350 people watching. Do you think we can do another 100 people hit that like button? So another 100 people hit that like button to get us to 300 likes. Thank you for that. Substack. We have streamlined our Substack. So if you didn't want to subscribe to our Substack because you didn't want a bunch of notification, that's no longer the case. Subscribe to our Substack. You get one notification for all videos, which is good. So you'll get one notification that has like 4 videos or 5 videos with debate, depending on the day. I think today's was 5 videos, I think. So it's a lot easier. And then also you get notifications when we go live. We also have memberships, $3.99. You can check that out. Our website, that's where you can go and find out more information about our upcoming RBN local chapter launches in Long Beach, Kansas City, Orlando, Detroit, and Boston. Check that out on the website. I'll pass it back to you, Nick.
So, as I said in the preview of this segment, I think I found one of my favorite cable news hosts. This guy's a weekend guy, apparently. I know this guy, he only have a show on the weekend. They tend to relegate that to the lesser known names or the people who've been demoted. They go on the weekend shows, while the people who are the more bigger names, got the bigger contracts, they are given Monday through Friday. The highest among the latter, the people who get prime time. The people they want to keep around, the people who they want their voice to be listened to, they give them a weekend show. And I noticed this guy Steve Hilton. I only notice him like every once in a while on a weekend, and he more than almost any other Fox News guest lean into foreign policy. Like every time I see this guy,
I didn't know that was his name. I don't know if this is from yesterday, but I caught a glimpse of his show yesterday, and I didn't know his name. But go ahead. I have the same sort of feel from how you're describing him. So go ahead. He's quickly become my favorite because this guy, like I told you, just like at MSNBC, Ali Veshi is the guy. Ali Veshi is the guy who does. Like they trust him to do foreign policy propaganda for them. Fox News trusts this guy to give him weekend. Like they like, let's get Steve Hilton the weekend show so he can help us spread his propaganda. And you guys gonna see with the video, it's not like quite like Tucker Carlson. Like this guy is just a straight up neocon. He's a straight up neocon, and I'm gonna show this video. Even the way he critiques the Biden administration, there's a lot of truth in it, but it also rubs me the wrong way because it basically rooted in neocon philosophy. And this also shows how the real reason why neocons and white America in general is really upset about China, Russia, and their quote-unquote authoritarian adversaries is because they're kicking their ass on the global stage. And one last preface before I play the video. This will be the strongest attack Republicans have against Joe Biden. The segment that this guy is about to do, the segment that Tucker Carlson's been doing lately. And I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about as a neutral commentator, not to us. We're not going to fall for this. But the white suburban people, the white suburban moms, this shit is going to be all about who will be the best leader to represent the United States. And the Trump people and the Republicans are accurately, that's the key part. They are accurately pointing to the fact that Biden has weakened the United States on the global stage. And they are telling this is like a rare time when Fox News is telling the truth, but they don't reach the conclusion that right. You know what I mean? So if the Republicans run on this segment I'm about to show you instead of what I think they're about to do, which I still tossed up. I see some people say Biden's going to lose. Guys, I'm still 50-50. I have no idea. Because Trump and Republicans, they could easily lean into woke culture war garbage
and throw this election the same way they did last year. I still think it's embarrassing that Trump lost. He lost because he landed the culture war. It can go either way. But if they lean into this argument, Biden is toast. Now I'll play the video.
But first, to the increasingly dangerous fiasco of Biden's foreign policy. Remember how the establishment constantly derided Trump's foreign policy? Oh, what a disaster it was. Peace deals in the Middle East and the defeat of ISIS, bringing rogue states like North Korea to the negotiating table, strengthening alliances with...
These people are rogue states because they do not bow to U.S. hegemony. You know, any state that want to be independent from the United States have different economic philosophies in the United States. They are labeled rogue states. I'm asking you guys, what is Russia, China, DPRK, Iran is doing that makes them rogue, other than not finding the United States hegemonic? So you guys see how this guy, his point of view already frustrates me. You know what I mean? His point of view is extremely warped, but his criticism of the Biden administration is going to be on point, coming from his point of view, and it's also coming from anti-imperialists as well. But let's play again.
Dangerous fiasco of Biden's foreign policy. Remember how the establishment constantly derided Trump's foreign policy? Oh, what a disaster it was. Peace deals in the Middle East and the defeat of ISIS, bringing rogue states like North Korea to the negotiating table, strengthening alliances with strategic partners like Saudi Arabia, India, Brazil, Japan, Israel, and, to the horror of the so-called foreign policy experts, the first US president to recognize and respond to the China threat, to challenge also the ideology of endless...
You guys see how, like, he's praising Trump for being a neocon. So he said, unlike Biden, Trump was friendly with Israel, and he started to wage war against China. So that first part not even true. Like, Joe Biden is extremely friendly with Israel. He also started waging war against China, probably more than Donald Trump has been. But you guys see his point of view. I think that's... I'm going to let it play a little bit more, but I think that's also extremely funny.
War. Indeed, the first president in more than 4 decades not to start a new war. The Trump era.
All right. So I'm tired of this. Like, no,
I've heard this so many times. Go ahead.
I put out a video on my Twitter feed about my take on Donald Trump's foreign policy. He's full of shit. Now, people always say this. Like I heard this a lot from mad communists and these people. They say Trump is the first president that didn't start a war. That, for one, that ignoring the fact that I consider sanctions as war, economic war is war. He sanctioned Venezuela. He increased sanctions on Iran. So they're completely ignoring that fact. So I would put that aside. You guys know Trump was so crazy that he wanted to invade Venezuela. You guys want to know why the United States did not invade Venezuela? Because John Bolton in the Pentagon said, Trump, you are fucking crazy. We can't do that. So for the people who think Donald Trump is
John Bolton.
So for the people who think Donald Trump is anti-war, we literally did not invade Venezuela. The only reason Donald Trump can say he did not start a new war is because John Bolton talked him out of it. You guys want to brag on that? Really? Anyway, let's continue. I'm gonna let it play a little bit longer so you can hear his argument. But man, we already out the gate hot.
Is now remembered as a period of relative global peace and stability.
No, there wasn't.
How distant that now seems. And how laughable is the establishment's smug claim that with Biden in the White House, the adults are back in the room. Yeah, adults who've just been humiliated by a kid who leaked classified intelligence laying bare not just Biden's failures in Ukraine, but their lies about
it. This is the difference between Tucker Carlson and this guy. This guy is criticizing Biden's foreign policy, but unlike Tucker Carlson, who talk about the contents of the leak, this guy is more upset than the fact that these leaks happened. He's not talking about what the leaks entailed. They're not covering. He's like, oh my God, Joe Biden, you're actually allowing people to leak in your government. You're not running a government that is completely non-transparent. We want a non-transparent government, Biden. That's the criticism at this point. So let's continue.
The documents show that in February, the administration knew that China had approved arms shipments to Russia, which would be disguised as civilian aid. But a month after that, here's John Kirby at the White House podium lying about it.
And we've seen no indication that they're about to or fixing to provide lethal weapons.
We've seen no indication. What? Apart from your own intelligence reports a month before? You cannot lie from the White House podium like that. It means the American people can't believe a word Kirby says.
So you guys realize This guy took the leaks that showed that Ukrainians were embezzling money, that there are United States troops in Ukraine. The leaks that also exposed that there are massive Ukrainian casualties compared to Russia. These leaks exposed that the Biden administration was lying about the fact that Ukraine is winning and their expectation of Ukraine to win. These are just one of many gigantic bombshells that was revealed in leaks. But you want to know what this guy's focused on? He like the leaks show that Biden is being weak on China. Like this is great. Like this is
it's like he's taking the same evidence that a Tucker Carlson would use and he just flipping it. It's like a different different point of view, like his critique of damn, I forgot my thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, let's continue the video. At this point, like we like 90 seconds in, I'm showing you guys why his point of view is so fucked up. You know what I mean? Like this should not connect with us, but watch how he turns around because he talks about how Biden is failing on the global stage and how the United States is losing their prestige, which is 100% true, and that will work on the voters that they want, like the white suburban moms. Remember, these are the votes that's up in the air. You know what I mean? Like white women vote for Trump 55% over Hillary Clinton. You guys know that? Then more white women vote for Donald Trump the second time. So like the vote they're chasing is the white suburban vote. Because, quite frankly, unlike black people, they know to fucking leverage their vote and not vote for someone. That's what they chase. So if you're one of those people, anyway, I'll let the video play. You guys see what the point I'm making. This messaging that he's going to pivot to, that Tucker Carlson been leaning to a lot lately, is going to be very effective at it. But we see if that's going to be message of the Trump campaign, or are they going to like lean into cultural worship? But let's continue. You guys see what
about anything ever again. Here's Biden lying. This time about Ukraine's prospects.
Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. Never.
Never. Even as he said that, he knew the opposite was true. According to these leaks, the Biden administration does not actually see a path to victory for Ukraine. This is all a complete shambles. The exact.
Can you pause it here? This is kind of the point. This is another example where it illustrates my point. Sending weapons. So his solution, the neocon position, would be you're not doing enough to supply them to win.
Yep.
It's the same evidence, but he's just getting a neocon spin and intentionally like missing all the other evidence, all the other leaked documents that says the otherwise, that would portray something, a narrative that's opposite of what he's trying to do from his neocon point of view. Go ahead.
Yeah, what's that?
This is all a complete shambles. The exact opposite of what they told us.
America's back. We're at the head of the table once again.
Under President Biden's leadership, America is back and respected once again
on the
world stage.
On the global front,
see, this is the part where you're going to give him.
This is world leader who commands the
respect
of allies and adversaries alike.
Give me a break. Biden's trip to Ireland revealed to the whole world the stumbling, mumbling, bumbling Biden we see here every day. Look what the world is now saying about America's president. Here's the London Times headline: "Time's up, Joe. Quit while you're still standing." Even those who respect the US president must face facts. His growing incapacity for office has become embarrassing. The article goes on. Biden looks almost bewildered. Your eyes follow him down the stairs, willing him to hold the banister. You follow his strange, flat delivery, anxious lest he fluff his lines. Face it, fellow respecters of the US president, this is getting embarrassing. And that's from someone who, as he says, is pro-Biden. Biden's obvious inability to lead is now having the gravest consequences for global stability and America's standing.
There it is.
We now have China brokering peace deals in the Middle East. North Korea back to terrorizing its neighbors with missile tests.
North Korea terrorizing their neighbors, doing the same stuff that every country does. How dare North Korea has a military? How dare North Korea test the military? You guys know North Korea has a military and they test it like other countries do? And this is the part that is the nail in the coffin here. Is he bringing up facts? China brokering a peace deal in the Middle East. So this is the part where we bring up U.S. decline. I'll let it continue.
Arabia cutting oil production, dumping America in favor of our adversaries, China and Russia. Even Japan doing energy deals with Russia now.
This is cold.
We see India, once such a promising ally when Trump was president, now being driven into the arms of Russia. French President Emmanuel Macron in Beijing this week, sucking up to Xi, bragging that Europe won't become America's followers. Who else was in Beijing this week? Oh, only the Brazilian president as well, shortly after striking a deal with China to ditch the US dollar and use China's currency for trade. Which
this is extremely funny. The reason why I'm laughing, CJ, because you notice at this point, like the last 30 seconds, he's been covering the same shit we've been covering.
Yes.
The same shit we covering. So look at the dread in his voice. Like we was like, oh my God, little me with G. The fall is coming, son. He's like, oh my God, Biden's failing. This is message to suburban moms in the pitch for people to be against Biden. Look at how Biden is failing us on the global stage. Look at how we losing influence. Biden is losing the battle against Xi and Putin, and that is a fact, son. This is why this guy is one of the few people on corporate media that will admit that. This guy just the last 20 seconds. I'll play the part again.
But he's pretending. But this is how he's selling it to the audience. He's pretending like it's because of Democrats and democratic values or democratic policies, and it's not capitalism. And like whoever would have been in position of power at this particular moment will be going through this same thing. So whether Trump was reelected or Hillary was double elected or elected twice, the hegemony would be still here. The multipolar world would still be coming. Like all of this stuff. But this is what they do, and this is the point I was trying to make when I was forgot earlier, is that he's taking what's happening and acting like it's not the problem of the ruling class, it's not the problem of the capitalist class. It's just somehow our politics can be shifted so from one side to the other that Biden got in and went from Trump and just shifted it completely way over here. You get what I'm saying? And everybody knows that's just ridiculous. Go ahead.
This concept you're explaining is actually why this is actually good propaganda, because this is propaganda that Americans are tricked with, thinking that, oh, well, the reason why this is happening is because the Democrats in charge, right? The reason why we had a close relationship with India compared to now is because the Democrats in charge. Guys, I'm asking you, what would change if Donald Trump was in charge? So one of the reason why India started to leave and speak out against the United States is because the United States got upset at India for not taking a harsher line against Russia, because India was not following Russian sanctions, because India would make a massive sacrifice. If India decided to stop buying Russian energy and they go along with the sanctions, that will lead to massive suffering of India's massive population. So India was like, man, we really like you guys. Hey, I'm Moody. I'm a fascist. I'm just like you, man. I hate labor. I trust me, I hate labor just like you, bro. I'm just like you, bro. But I am not about to fuck our country up for what you are talking about. They were like, bro, we really want to be cool with you, but you guys are really asking for too much. So India said, sorry, we bouncing, and we cool with Russia now. And India's like, man, we down to do business with y'all as long as you guys are cool. That the fact that we cool with Russia. That's what he's talking about. So I'm asking, what would change under his policy? Under his policy, the United States should keep Russian sanctions. That we should continue to wage these war against Russia and China. So what changed? So the same thing will happen. India will be like, no, we good. So don't get it twisted. And I think you guys would know this, right? There's not a red-blue solution here. And I'm going to play the last 20 seconds again because it's greatly entertaining, because this is nothing but cope. This is cope. This is him affirming our reporting. All the reporting we've been doing about the United States falling in geopolitical influence. He's going to wrap up for his boomer audience. I'm going to play that part again.
Being driven into the arms of Russia. French President Emmanuel Macron in Beijing this week, sucking up to Xi, bragging that Europe won't become America's followers. Who else was in Beijing this week? Oh, only the Brazilian president as well, shortly after striking a deal with China to ditch the US dollar and use China's currency for trade, which Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen just this morning astonishingly seemed to think is no big deal and just, the price you pay for US sanctions on Russia over Ukraine.
Is there a danger that we will look back at all this, these measures and say this was the moment that the dollar's hegemony and its status as a reserve currency began to falter?
So There is a risk when we use financial sanctions that are linked to the role of the dollar, that over time it could undermine the hegemony of the dollar, as you said.
Oh, okay then. My God, this collapse of American power and prestige under Biden in just 2 years, it is terrifying. And no one is held accountable for any of it. No one held accountable for the total catastrophe of the surrender to the Taliban and the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, which gave Putin the green light to invade Ukraine. No one held accountable for these latest leaks. They're all blaming the Pentagon, but you could be sure General Milley won't do the honorable thing. No one held accountable for the lies that the leak exposed. Kirby's still there, shameless as ever. I mean, what is this?
Can you pause
Milley's
it?
a joke.
This is the friend.
Kirby's a liar.
This is the friend that instigates fights. That's what this is. This is the friend. You know, you go out and friend. Hey, there's always, hey man, what's up? What's up? Like this is the friend that always instigates fights, because that's the position you got to have in order to have this neocon sort of position where it's like you're looking at what this is what Fox does all the time, and Tucker Carlson does this also. And everybody on and Laura Ingraham, it's like you look at what the insane shit that Joe Biden does, and you go, that's some bullshit. That's some milquetoast shit you're doing to China. You get what I'm saying? That's the friend that's telling you, here's the gun, nigga. Here, that nigga just stepped on your shoes, but here's your gun right here. Like, that's the friend. That's the neocon position. And he's saying, so the critique is not that the bullying is not producing, is that you need to turn your bully shit up in order for it to work. In other words,
this guy's understanding Biden not being tough enough. Biden, his insane phone calls that we were covering. Steve Hilton essentially did a segment like, Biden, you fucking pussy. In fact, you've been a pussy while the United States is falling in the global stage, but there's two truths to this story. The truth that obvious to us that he's obviously full of shit in his criticism of Joe Biden, but he's also telling the truth that Biden has weakened us on the geopolitical stage, and the fact that this will work on suburban white wine moms. Once again, I'm taking myself out of the equation. We're not attached to the electoral system. We're not voting. I can close the video now. They're not trying to win our votes. You know what I mean? They don't give a fuck about our votes. The votes they are trying to win are the suburban wine moms, these neocon daddies, like, you know, the people that care about the United States influence. You know what I mean? So when they see this, they're like, man, in 2 years, Biden did kind of fuck our United States standing up. The same thing they said Donald Trump was going to do when Donald Trump was going to alienate our allies, make us a joke on the global stage, and lead to the fall of the dollar in World War III. They used to say shit about that. They used to say that shit about Trump, and people be like, "Man, you kind of being a doomer, aren't you?" Now it's really happening under Joe Biden. So you gotta have these suburban people who trade on stock. They on stock trades and look on this shit like, man, you see what's going on with the dollar, man? So we see what happens, because I do not put past the Republicans to choke this away, because the Republicans, and I have this article, I showed it before, polling show RBN was right. Like woke, let's see if I can find it. Woke polling. Most Americans, here it is. Most Americans are turned off by this shit, which I actually didn't think was the case, because I remember when we did our initial breakdown of this, I was like, man, I don't think we're going to win this battle at the end of the day, but we got to stay with true. We got to say the fact that you guys hijacked this shit for the black community. We could not be a black network, and we do not call out this woke bullshit that the GOP is pushing. And I was like, man, even though we're in the minority on this, I don't give a fuck. We got to tell our truth. Meanwhile, the rest of America is like, yeah, you guys right. We don't give a fuck. And look at this poll. And this is what I said as well. Like, the only people who are obsessed over wokeness are people who are already Republicans. People are already conservative. These are people who are socially conservative. Like, oh my God, these woke people who got rainbow flags everywhere. They are okay with gay people. They're okay with. Meanwhile, the average American are struggling to pay their bills. They don't give a fuck about the culture war. I cannot emphasize this enough. And this is what the analysis of MAGA communism failed. It's like, you got to lean into the culture war to reach workers. I was saying, if anything, no, the culture war turns workers off of politics. Right. That's why most people don't vote. When you speak to their material needs and ignore the political theater, you can reach people. But actually, let me read the poll. I actually had another overall point. The GOP war on woke. Most Americans view the term as a positive. 56% compared to 39%. That's a big swing. That double-digit swing. I think that's 17% positive here. And I remember during our debate with Jackson Hinkle, they was trying to, the mad communist was like, man, you gotta be anti-woke because that's how you reach the workers. And I'm like, bro, you are insulting the workers so much. That's the argument we made. Leaning into the woke culture war to win the workers over is saying that workers are dumb and don't know what's really good for them. You know what I mean? That's the argument that we made to Jackson, and that's true. That's shown to be true. Most Americans don't care about this shit except the people who are already engaged. Like if you like really retweeting right-wing, like if you retweeting Matt Walsh, if you're retweeting Ben Shapiro, you already chose a side. You're already engaged, and you're not the winnable people. You're not the people who don't vote already. You already like stake your flag down. Most people are not like that, as evidence that most people don't vote. Most people are like, oh man, these politicians are full of shit. I'm trying to survive. You know what I mean? It's only the 20% that actually think that the woke scourge is something that's taking over the country. It's always the passionate minority. But CJ, I know you want to chime in.
I just wanted to go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish out your point.
I just want to say this just because I don't want to miss my point. Because the point I was making is almost like a mini segment. Was if GOP leans into this, they're going to lose, guys. They're going to lose. They was expected to dominate the midterms. They did not dominate the midterms because of this. As we broke down.
We did a segment on it. Yeah.
So I think Biden is very vulnerable. I think Trump is in a great position to win. But if Trump rack up this cultural war, like imagine you run a campaign like we're gonna end wokeness. That shit works in Florida, guys. Ron DeSantis kills it in Florida. The rest of the country is rolling their eyes at this shit.
But is it me or do you get the vibe that DeSantis lays into the culture war way more than Trump? Or is it just me?
Because it works because he's in Florida. We explained this as well. That shit works well for DeSantis because he's in Florida. That shit wins in Florida. Does that shit win nationally?
No.
Like, that's the thing.
Like, they're finding out his polling is collapsing. Or I should say his polling has collapsed because David Pakman covers this intensely. And so I get the notifications. His polling has collapsed over the last month or maybe 3 weeks or so. And it's because it doesn't translate nationally. Yeah. You're not going to come to California talking about some woke bullshit. We're going to be like, we know what woke is. Like,
and not battleground
states. Not gonna, go ahead.
Like, Florida is deeply conservative. Like, bro, you can go Ohio and a swing state talk about some shit that's going to fire up the left. That's not a good idea. Like, it doesn't something that works. So if the GOP sticks with they only trying to win over suburbia. The youth wing of the Democratic Party, they're gonna do their part to get young people over. You're gonna have the Matt Walshes and the Ben Shapiro. They're gonna do their job to get young Republicans. The job of corporate media is to win over suburban wine moms. So if they lean into the whole Biden destroyed U.S. standing, and they lean into the Ukraine war and his lies over the Ukraine war, his inability to fight China, you know what I mean? That will be a solid message. If they lean toward the culture war, I don't think Trump is as guaranteed as a lot of people think. And I remember I made a prediction before 2020. I remember everyone was like, man, Trump's gonna destroy. But I'm like, man, I don't know, man. Because you guys see the culture war shit the Republicans are doing. Never discount the ability of a Republican or a Democrat to choke an election away. That's why when people ask me what you think, I'm thinking to happen, I don't know, man. Electoral politics is bullshit. You can't really predict it.
I probably give him more of a chance to win than you, but it's not like as much of a difference. Like if you're 50-50, I'm like 60-40 that he's probably going to win because he's made a couple of good decisions in the beginning. We've already covered this. The stance on Ukraine, which we both think is a lie, like he's going to be talked out of it. But the stance on Ukraine, and I forget the latest thing that he talked about where we were like, yeah, these two things together may give him a chance to win.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. If Trump lean into that good shit, like if he lean into Ukraine, boy is gonna win. But based on what I'm saying right now, the early stages, he's gonna mention that shit, but he's gonna focus on the culture war. That's gonna be the thing. And if that happens, if they do that, it's 50-50. If the Republican leans toward the culture war, it's gonna be 50-50. I don't know. It could be either or. But if Trump leans into Biden, Ukraine, you know what I mean? That's gonna. I think that would be devastating. Like the same way.
Now,
go ahead, CJ.
We must mention this, Nick, because they want to say GOP is the one that's trying to co-opt this, but the only way they can co-opt this is because of what the Democrats are doing. Yep. The only way they can co-opt this is because AOC and the squad voted for Ukraine and they call themselves anti-war. So you're doing that's woke anti-war because you're saying you're anti-war and you're not. So they are even creating a lane for this to even have the legs that it is, even though it's not polling that high. Point? Go ahead.
Sorry, you just spoke.
I saw the light bulb in your eyes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Another reason why Democrats may be fucked because you know how Republicans can screw this over. I just said it by leaning to the culture war. The same Democrats can screw this up by leaning into Ukraine. Like I've seen MSNBC hosts and analysts and blue check liberals. They're like running on. Oh my God, Trump is the Russian candidate. If you want Ukraine to keep getting funds, you gotta make sure you support Joe Biden. Like, so I have seen this. Like, Born and Joe have done segments. I think in my last Nick at Night, I think I kind of highlighted how they were like, man, Trump is gonna. If Trump thinks he's gonna run against Ukraine and win, he's gonna got nothing coming. Yeah, look. This exposed Trump as a Russian puppet, and then they were talking about how Trump was praising. That was my last Nick at Night video I did. How when Trump praised Xi Jinping and Putin, they was like, man, they think Trump is praising Putin and Xi Jinping. Look at him, he's a Russian puppet. Bro, if they lean into that shit, Democrats are gonna lose. And it seems like there's gonna be
maybe this is why they're so in fear of the polling on Ukraine's like falling. Because the polling on Ukraine falls and you got a president or a contender saying we need to come to a peace deal, that spells bad news for them. Maybe this is why, maybe all of this is tied. Maybe this is why you're hearing on corporate media them being willing to do segments saying Joe Biden, people don't want Joe Biden. Have you noticed an uptick in corporate media? Or maybe you don't watch it. There's an uptick in corporate media where they're allowing this conversation, these segments more often on corporate media, and I think all of it is tied. They realize, look, Republican president may be coming in, and the funding for Ukraine may not be the same. That's all they can run on and that's what they have to keep sort of Russiagating people, if you will, with this Ukraine proxy war. That's my final word. I got like 2 short stories, maybe 5 minutes each. Yeah,
we can get to that one.
Yeah, we got civil action. All of these stories I got are probably like 7-8 minutes long. This next one, this civil action forfeiture one, this is a doozy. Like you have a sort of viral video back when Liz used to be a co-host on my show, where you talk about civil asset forfeiture. It's probably got like 30,000-40,000 views. So we've covered it. But this article, since that last time we covered it, I haven't seen something as ridiculous as far as these articles as this next one I'm about to bring up here, Nick. And I got 2 headlines. So let me show you the first one to give you to build. This is the one we're just showing the headline, not gonna read the article. Or maybe we will if we have a little extra time. Here's this one. Kansas and California cops use civil forfeiture to stage armored car heists, stealing money from earned by licensed marijuana businesses. Basically, licensed marijuana businesses. They basically stole all their stuff. It's civil asset forfeiture. Stole a bunch of shit.
I tell you,
that's one.
Tell you guys, the police are the biggest gangsters in this country. Like, this is gangster ass shit. The same way it was exposed that there's gangsters in LAPD. Cops, like gangsters, use civil asset forfeiture to steal wealth and resources from the working class, because a lot of times they don't have a legal ground to do it, and the cops know they don't have a legal ground to do it. But they rely on the fact that they steal money from poor people, that it will cost more in legal fees to get what they stole back. So they literally rely on the fact that people don't take them to court because it'll cost a ton of resources, which also leads to them targeting poor people, because there have been countless civil asset forfeiture cases that actually have been overturned because cops broken the law. But so it's
a good overturn rate. It's a good overturn rate in those cases. I remember reading about it a couple of years ago.
And that's why I say cops drain the resources and wage class war against the working class, because even if you get your shit back via civil asset forfeiture, you are at a loss via legal fees. You guys see how they serve as a regressive force that steals the wealth of working class people? Well, at least Black Americans, because we are the ones who
this is the same
windows policed, right?
This is the same reason for ticketing too. You have a ticket, and then you ever notice in California, and when Rome was out here, he got a ticket. In California, it costs more to fight the ticket than to just pay for the ticket.
Yep.
You see how stupid that is? Like, oh, if you want a bail, you got to do this thing where you pay a bail. Like, basically, you're not paying the ticket, but you got to, it's like you're putting up funds, like almost like you're putting up funds to go and say, I want to fight this. And then you got to take out time from work. You see why they target? Because they know most people who are poor, they're living check to check. They can't work. They can't take off time from work. They don't have no paid sick leave. They just got to keep going. So the likelihood of them, somebody fighting this, they know is very, 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 very low. They know that. That's why they do it. And this leads us to this article here, Nick, and it's called, and this is from Truth Out. Police are abusing civil forfeiture laws to seize cash for themselves. This is pretty disgusting. And this is from yesterday. This was dropped yesterday. And I'll just jump right into the article here. Crystal Starling, that's the name. Crystal Starling awoke to banging and shooting on October 29, 2020. The police smashed open her apartment door in Rochester, New York, and ordered everyone on the ground. More than 2 years later, I think it's Starling is still fighting to recover $8,040 she lost in the pre-dawn raid. The case is one of thousands showing the need for the Fifth Amendment Integrity Restoration Fair Act, House Resolution 1520, a bipartisan effort to curb forfeiture abuse nationwide. You see this? To curb, not stop. Yeah. Another just bullshit reform. But let me continue. Starling saw firsthand what can go wrong under current federal law. Officers with the Rochester Police Department came looking for her then boyfriend, who was suspected of selling drugs. He was sleeping in the apartment. The only other occupant were Sterling and her grandnephew, a child she had cared for since he was 10 months old. The police found no drugs in the apartment, but the search produced something else. While rummaging through cupboards and drawers, officers found Starling's cash in a bedroom dresser and pants pocket. Starling, whom owns a hot dog stand, had earned the money through legal labor and was saving to buy a food truck. She never consented to her then boyfriend alleged activities, and the police did not accuse her of any wrongdoing, but they seized her money anyway. Initially, Starling thought the setback would be temporary. Quote, I hadn't done anything wrong, end quote. She told the Institute for Justice, quote, I wasn't arrested for anything. There was no charges brought upon against me, so I didn't see any reason why I wouldn't get my money back. Quote, and let me stop there. I would think the same thing. It'd be like, oh, they got, it was kind of hectic. They run in and got stuff. But now they figured out, hey, I'm legit. I got a business, blah, blah, blah. He didn't, no drugs. Everything's cool, right? Nope. This was her first mistake. Her first mistaken assumption. Through a process called civil forfeiture, the government can take and keep cash, cars, and other valuables without convicting anyone of a crime.
Tell me more.
Too. Go ahead.
Tell me more about how China and Russia are these unhinged authoritarian regimes. You guys, I stopped you there for a reason. I'm gonna read that part.
Yeah, go ahead.
Decolonize your mind and think about what kind of unhinged, psychopathic, authoritarian government this is. Through a process called civil asset forfeiture.
Sorry, hold on.
They went on to explain that the government can take your money and resources without charging you for a crime.
My bad.
But you think Stalin is authoritarian? You think there's no better example of that than this. This is capitalist dictatorship. policies.
Okay, here we go, right here.
Now, the logic, I don't know if they explain this in this article, but do you guys know the defense that police people give for civil asset forfeiture? Because they just explain the history of it. The police claim the reason why we keep civil asset forfeiture is because we want to seize the assets of people engaged in organized crime. That's the mindset. So yeah, that's the idea is when you do a drug bust, right? You take a ton of cocaine off someone. You want to take the money they got because they got the money through selling cocaine or through illegal means. That's the idea. That's how they defend it. By like, if someone committed murder and you see someone got a lot of resources, like, bro, he got these by ill-gotten means. That's the faulty logic they use. So with that said, even if you buy that argument, why would they take it from her? Someone that they acknowledge is not part of the drug ring. Not that she's not guilty of a crime, but they still seize her assets. That shows that they're given reason, and this is shown by almost every case of civil asset forfeiture, is bullshit. The claim is it's used to stop kingpins from crime of developing, to hurt criminals financially, but that is literally not what happens. The majority of people who lose resources via civil asset forfeiture are not charged with a crime. You guys know that? Our friend Zoya's Life taught us that, right? Our friends at 10 Demands teach us that kind of stuff. I co-founded 10 Demands. I can speak on this all day, so I'll pass to CJ and I'll continue to argue because this is one of the things, like, this is why I had a video I released on Twitter not too long ago. If you're weak on the issue of policing, you are not a populist. This whole thing about right-wing populism, what the fuck is that? I'm asking, what the fuck is right-wing populism? So you support the police and you're a populist? That's not how it works. Anyway, sorry, CJ, continue.
No, that's spot on. And my apologies, y'all. I got mixed up on the article, but I found my spot. This was her first mistaken assumption. Through a process called civil asset forfeiture, the government can take and keep cash, cars, and other valuables without convicting anyone of a crime. The practice dates to medieval times, but was popularized and expanded in the United States as part of the war on drugs in the 1970s. Under modern rules, guilt or innocent can be irrelevant. The government pursues civil forfeiture against Starling's cash, even after a jury acquitted her then boyfriend due to lack of evidence. So the reason they were even there, Nick, the reason they even brought you there, that have fallen apart too. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's the problem. So not only did she didn't do the crime, the person they accused of doing the crime wasn't convicted, was innocent because so that is so detached. That is so detached from wrongdoing. Not only are you not the party involved is innocent too, but they're still taking your shit. This is like one of the best examples of malicious intent regarding civil asset forfeiture. Go ahead, continue, CJ.
And the thing is, she was trying to be a capitalist like y'all. She was just trying to aspire. Yep. She had a hot dog stand and she was saving for a truck to get bigger. Isn't that what capitalists want to have happen?
Exactly.
But let's continue. Property owners who face civil forfeiture must fund their own defenses, and Starling could not afford an attorney. She represented herself. Local officers had seized her cash, so she thought her legal battle would occur in her Monroe County under the New York law. This was her second mistake. Through a program called Equitable Sharing, created in 1984, state and local agencies can outsource civil forfeiture litigation to U.S. attorneys, Nick. These prosecutors use federal laws that offer property owners fewer protections than New York and many other states. They do that on purpose. Oh, you're going to try to fight back, you peasant? Yeah. We're here. Let the U.S. attorney pick this up. Take care of this. That's exactly what this is. Just disgusting. Let's continue. A couple of more paragraphs until I get to this one point I'm looking for. I think this is the second one here. The result is a massive loophole. Yes, this one. The result is a massive loophole in state law. If participating agencies don't like civil forfeiture reform where they live, they can partner with the federal government, Nick, and bypass them. So there's some reforms from civil asset forfeitures. We can just partner with the federal agencies and bypass this. Once the process ends, federal agencies take a cut from themselves and return the rest, up to 80% to their state. So they split it, Nick. Just like the good capitalists that they represent, they just split it. And I think we can kind of end it there. You get the gist of it. It just goes on. I just wanted to get to this last part, how they can just bypass any sort of local state reform that is passed to correct this. They fixed that too. You see the voting stuff that we say about this blue-red game? Jesus, that was a terrible. Oh, let me show you this. Just go ahead.
I have another thing I want to add to the segment, but you can share your part.
Actually, I showed you this first. I showed you the Kansas City, how they staged the forfeiture.
Yeah.
I already showed you that, so my bad. I already showed you that one. So go ahead.
I have something else I want to add to the story as well, because I always got to say this. I actually have two quick things I think can go well with the story. Mm-hmm. Like you see this cultural war backlash that white America is having about critical race theory and the idea that there's institutional racism. Like Tucker Carlson mocks the idea every night. He's like, oh my God, there's no such thing as institutional racism. No such thing as CRT. CRT, critical race theory, is about not focusing on individual racism. Like Timmy being an asshole, not really much you can do about it. The focus is institutional racism, which Republicans and the right claim do not exist. Now, civil asset forfeiture is the greatest example of institutional racism. So I know you guys probably watching this segment like, man, my God, this is crazy. Every time a civil asset forfeiture story comes, you probably think like, man, this is crazy. How is society allowing this to happen? How is society allowing the government to steal funds from people illegally despite them not committing a crime? Because they're doing it to Black people. That's why. And this is a fact. This is a study. I wrote an op-ed about this. Come on. Goddamn website. Here it is. And this is what white America don't want to talk about. This is institutional racism. In civil asset forfeiture cases, Black people are 65% of the civil asset forfeiture cases, despite being 13% of the population. Now, why is that? Because of broken windows policing. Because our community is over-policed, so we are the ones who most likely going to have our shit stolen. And that also goes back to the point I made earlier on the statement. They go after poor people because poor people can't win and can't legally defend themselves in the court of law. Who are the weakest people in terms of legal power in this country? Other than probably indigenous people, Black people, right? So that's why Black people tend to be targeted, correct? So civil asset forfeiture is a state-run operation that seizes money from Black people and workers and transfer it to the capitalist class. And I see some person said that 17 million in 3 years is not that much. That's one state. The study is done in one state. You guys know that? This is literally just a South Carolina study. And there's been studies, because in my op-ed, I researched multiple of these. When it comes to civil asset forfeiture statistics, they're not national statistics. It's based on state. So there have been multiple studies done where you look at South Carolina. There's another study done in Pennsylvania. Every single study done on civil asset forfeiture case, there was one study, I saw the number was as high as 70%, CJ, of the cases were Black. And you can look at it, look at the statistics. Every single place with civil asset forfeiture, the majority of people are Black. And it's 17 million in 3 years is literally one state. And to be clear, the guy was being good faith here. You say, okay, that makes more sense. That comment we put up there, that guy was just learning something. He was in good faith. He said that makes more sense, right? So that's how I frame it. That's why I don't consider Democrats to be anti-racist. In fact, I consider them to be as big of an enemy to Black people because Democrats in blue cities support this stuff, and Democrats support running on increased police budgets. So unless you are against civil asset forfeiture in our police state as we know it, you are not anti-racist, you're not anti-Black, because this is way more significant than Lucy saying some racist shit on Instagram. Because that's what, remember the poll, the study we showed?
Yeah,
they showed that
poll about that.
Non-Black, actually it's non-Black, because everybody, Non-black people care more about individual, racist, Karen-like behavior than they do institutional racism. So I like whatever. I don't care if Lucy don't like me. I just want the system not to be racist. That's just my personal opinion. You know what I mean? Lucy can see me walking and say the N-word 1,000 times in her head. I don't care as long as I'm treated equally under the law. You know what I mean?
Right. If we had a trade-off, I mean, which one would you pick? Like, you could call me the N-word up the yin yang as long as the police aren't racist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, dropping bombs in Somalia.
Yeah,
like I'll take that trade-off.
Just to finish my thought, to that point, and that study shows only non-black people care about that individual Karen shit. Meanwhile, black people are like, no, we don't really care about that. We care about institutional racism. We care about what the system is actually doing for us.
Yeah, because we can handle individual shit. Nigga want to get racist in persons. Like we can handle that. Don't worry about that. That's not what we can't handle ourselves. You get what I'm saying? Like we can handle a Karen in person.
Yeah.
It's the problem is the system.
Yeah, well said. And I have one last thing I want to add to this. This is once again just real too quick. You gave me an excuse to show this, so I think this is a good. Let me turn my ad blocker off for this side here. I think this fits with the story because we talking about civil asset forfeiture, and I didn't know where I was going to squeeze this in. I think this is a good time to squeeze it in. You know, it's like this. You guys know that civil asset forfeiture steals more money. I just had the receipt. I think I closed on accident. Here, I'm gonna find it. Civil asset. Oh, there it is. It's from Washington Post. So
you got ad block. He hit that back button again. So give him a second. He'll come right back. I do it myself. You hit that.
I did
you hit the back button. You hit the back button instead of the other back. Yeah, I do that too. So go ahead.
So let me. I'm like that of this Washington Post article. So I'll show you the Google link because this Washington Post article says civil asset forfeiture took more stuff from people than burglars did last year. This is a point I make all the time. See, I'm locked out, so I can't really show you the article.
Yeah.
But it said law enforcement took more stuff from people than burglars did last year. Now, if you pay attention to corporate media, you would not know this. You would not know that because all they do is fearmonger over the other. Oh my God, there was a murder over here. There's a crazy shoplifting epidemic. Epidemic. That is what they're now pushing. You've seen this a lot. I've seen this headline so many times I decided to flag it. So you see, I think this is a good time to squeeze this part in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quick interjection. So, and there's been multiple headlines. This is a headline I saw yesterday. I decided to tweet about this because there's like, it happens every like 2 years, maybe sooner. I think like every year or so, there's like this coordinated media push to, oh my God, there's a shoplifting scourge. They do that to justify and manufacture consent for police spending. You guys understand? That's what it's for. So I'm gonna read this headline. I'm gonna make my point. A tiny number of shoplifters commit thousands of New York City thefts. Be afraid of the shoplifters, CJ. Be afraid of your neighbor. The shoplifters are coming. Then not just this story. The reason I'm covering this because it's an epidemic that happens every year. Here's another one. You guys see these websites are all shit. But this from Forbes. Shoplifting has become a $100 billion problem for retailers. Here's the New York Post on that same thing. Shoplifting has reportedly become a $94 billion problem for U.S. retailers. You guys see the focus of the mainstream media? They talk, oh my God, look at these businesses where people are stealing from. Do you guys know civil asset forfeiture and wage theft costs the working class more money than shoplifting does? Where are the nonstop articles and headlines over wage theft, which is one of the biggest crimes, period. White collar crime in terms of money lost. We just covered civil asset forfeiture, how cops are stealing resources and funds from the working class. But if you watch Morning Joe and MSNBC, you would never hear them mention that. It's nothing but pro-cop, sycophantic, worshiping the entire show. So that's my quick interjection. I'm asking you guys the rhetorical question. Why do we see all these headlines fear-mongering over shoplifting and crime in general, but not over wage theft? And if you want to do the fear-mongering, I guess, okay, that makes sense. But you would think for every 1 or 2 shoplifting stories you see, you would see like 5 or 6 wage theft, civil asset forfeiture, because it's more prevalent to our lives. So you see, the United States media, they represent capitalist interests because they're going to run the shoplifting stories all the time because that is in the capitalist class interest. They're not going to run stories talking about how your employer is stealing from you.
Stealing from you. They're
not going to run many stories about civil asset forfeiture. They exist. That's why we're able to quote this kind of stuff. But compared to the prevalence of the fear mongering, be afraid of your neighbor. This guy killed this person. This person was kidnapped. Oh my God, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. That's all the news is. Got people it bothers me. You guys can tell it bothers me because I got people in my family. I'm not gonna call them out. These motherfuckers are afraid of their family.
I gotta be my family. I'm not gonna call them out.
They're afraid on them shadows. It's crazy because I love my niece to death. I mentioned it during my worker strike back speech. And I'm pretty much done, CJ. In my worker strike back speech, where like my niece don't go outside. Like she's like 9 now. Like bro, we was everywhere outside. Now I'm not a parent, so I cannot speak. But why do people feel like it's way more dangerous for kids to play outside compared to my day? Now kids can't go outside the yard. Gotta be within eyesight. Now, if you look at the stats and you look at the numbers over the decades, it's safer than ever. You guys know crime was worse in the 90s.
It's going down. Yeah, it's going down.
Now. So why was 90 kids and 80 kids like myself and CJ, why are we allowed to play outside, but kids are not allowed to play outside now, even though statistically it's safer? That's because the media have got people afraid of their fucking neighbor, because if you turn on the local news, they're not talking about corruption. They're talking about your evil neighbor, some evil person doing something evil somewhere. There's some person doing something evil somewhere, so you gotta be afraid. Can't have your kids go somewhere, you might get kidnapped. So it might evil happen to them, which is the risk of life that we have accepted as a species forever. Then 24/7 news outlets came. People see the amount of murders and deaths, even though it's way less than used to be. They get scared. They get scared of shit. And I'm not a parent, so I'm not passing judgment here. Because I feel it with my niece. There's overwhelmingly sense to protect them. But and when you live life, there's an inherent risk involved. Now people are afraid to do shit because they see the news that scared the shit out. Oh my God, I can't go there. What if something happened? What if I get murdered? What if I get attacked? That's life. Yeah. That's just the risk of life.
Yeah, to your point, a little anecdotal story.
Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, but to your point, a little anecdotal story to wrap this up. Daughter had a birthday thing. Her birthday's on the 12th, so we've been celebrating for a couple of days. But her birthday event, one of her friends, when I met the parents, she was like, "Yeah, we ain't been out. She ain't been out to do anything for 4 years." She was like, since before the pandemic. And I was just like, man,
I know someone like that too.
Yeah, I was just like, man, that is not good. I'm like, in my head, I didn't say that to her, but in my head, I was just like, man, that is not good at all.
I was talking to an elder in my family. Once again, I don't want to call anyone out, but I was talking to an elder in my family, and they was like, man, it's hard to do anything nowadays, man. It's so crazy. People getting shot and killed everywhere. And I literally was like, is that happening, or are you just watching the news all the time? And I said that because I know this person, and they watch the news all the time. So they watch the news every day. Like, there's a 6 o'clock shooting here. There's a 7 o'clock shooting here. Like, dude, you realize how many people here? Like, the amount of people. And Kansas City is a small city, but we're talking about 500,000 people. If there's one shooting in 1 week and 500,000 people, obviously that's sad. But why are you afraid to go outside? Why do you think that someone's out to get you? Like number why that don't make sense, but it's something that's been bothering me for some time. Because I see after my entire life, 30 years, I am seeing the long-term like negative effects of 24/7 news. And I think people not trust their neighbors. People think that people are out to get them. All this shit is the response of that. That's the result of that. Like people are way more chill in the same. Like people more likely to go outside. People more likely to talk to their neighbors, have small talk with people. Now people just who are you? Because and I think and this is my theory. This is me being my old man ranting, soapbox. Maybe people don't agree with me here, but I feel like people have been socially declined because not only social media, but because of 24/7 news. That got people fucking terrified of people. And I can defend myself as someone who trained Muay Thai for like 12 years. And I guess I got that. I don't have that chip on my shoulder, but man, I feel like people are just fucking scared of anything now, man. They're just scared of
And just
anything.
because of the era I grew up in,
Yeah.
it feels like it has gotten less. Like, and it says like, why are you still like, why are you complaining? So I hear you on that, and then the little anecdotal story to prove that, and it seems like it's getting worse. But hopefully, our RBN can help kind of reverse that and get people to understand we need to go, back to community. But it also, Nick, illustrates the power of propaganda over time. It illustrates that, but to think about it, this is how Black men are also criminalized, is through that. You just show a couple of arrests. If every crime story you show as a Black person, even though the Black people only make up maybe 10% of crime. I'm just giving you, throwing out these numbers, but you only report on that. Guess what people think? Black people are committing 100% of the crime.
Now, there's a great point I must speak on, CJ, because there's a story that I wasn't going to cover because I don't like covering Black trauma. Like, that's it's very hard for me to do. But in Kansas City, in my town, there was a 16-year-old boy that was shot because he rung the doorbell at the wrong, and some white guy opened the door, saw this Black kid, and shot him in the face, shot him in the head. Dude in critical condition, actually. Dude bled, and he allowed him to bleed out without getting medical care. And our fucking racist police department didn't arrest the guy. Now, that's a whole statement we can do on our own. But to the point we was making, why did that guy shoot that Black kid? Because he rang the doorbell at his house.
We'll cover that tomorrow. Everybody that's
a Black stranger. If someone rang the doorbell at your house, why would that even be your instinct? And I'll tell you, this is my thesis, guys. Like, our social media and our media, completely broken the brains of a large segment of the population that we can't even calculate yet. Like, to the point where someone would shoot someone because they rang the wrong doorbell. Like, and I've seen this degradation of society where the community is dying. There's a park right next to my house. We was playing there all the time. Like if you look outside any given day during my childhood, you will either see us or someone not like us. Because I remember as a kid, I'm like, man, I hope there ain't kids at the park. We want to park to ourselves. And we always do that thing, you know what I mean? Now you go to the park, that shit's empty all the time. There's never anyone there. And these are things I ask myself, like, what's causing this stuff? Like, there's not, and these are one of the topics. I can't even pull up like hard receipts. I got hard receipts for. There's none but theories. And there's someone watching society and thinking and knowing the effects of psyops on populations. What's the effect? And I want you guys to ask yourself, what's the effect on the population when there's constant fear-mongering porn on TV, constant death, constant your neighbor is this, your neighbor is that, crime is up, even though it's not up. Like, they just constant fear on TV, on news. That's all it is. Like, I've been watching Oppo on corporate media to do breakdowns on foreign policy, but I had to skip so many segments because a lot of segments just be afraid. So I'm like, so what do you guys think the long-term 20 years, 25 year effect over a population? We are just now seeing it, guys, because this is still new. Like, this whole 24/7 news cycle, this deregulation, the Telecom Acts of 1996, I believe. Like, this whole thing is still within one lifetime. Like, usually to study effects of psyops on populations, you need a long data set. Yeah. We just got started, guys. And I'm already starting to see the negative effect of this. So what's going to look like 20 years from now, 30 years from now? These are things that keep me up for night. You know what I mean? But CJ, any last thoughts on this?
Not this one. We can move to the next short. Yeah. This is a shorter segment here. And this is right up our alley because this is not a propaganda report, but this is definitely on U.S. hegemony fading. Yeah. And it's a couple of quick article headlines I want to pop up and get sort of your reaction. I'm sure you've seen some of these. So let's start with this one, and then there's a short clip from Ben Norton that I'll play. So like I said, this segment might be a little bit shorter than normal, but the first part we're going to start with is Yemen peace process. So let's start with this story here. The Yemen peace process advances as relief ships dock. I can't even say that name. Hodeidah. Now, for those that may not know, this is like the humanitarian effort that's going on, and that has been going on in Yemen is one of the things that the left has been talking about and saying, hey, if you're a humanitarian, this is like the issue that's going on. And just like that, and it's my belief that this is China inspired. China is inspiring something
100%.
like this. Now, you know, there might be some inner workings behind that they actually did, but I'm talking about reporting. I haven't seen any report. I don't know if you have, Nick, where China actually pushed this, but it's no way that they did the Saudi-Iran deal and then a week later they're talking about Yemen and South. Like that's not a coincidence to me.
This was one of the things that was included in the Saudi Arabia-Iran peace deal was to resume talks on peace in Yemen.
Oh, okay, now, then it does explain it.
Yeah, just to provide some context, the Biden administration tried to bring peace in Yemen, but you had the Saudi-backed coalition who broke the ceasefire because one of the conditions of the ceasefire was they would lift the blockade, and they failed to lift the blockade. And then the Houthis responded in kind because they said, okay, the ceasefire is null and void because you guys are still blocking goods from our government-controlled areas. So then they start attacking. And then the Western media, oh my God, the Houthis broke the agreement, even though it was a Saudi-backed coalition first. So the reason why the Biden administration in the West wanted to do this, and I don't know if you remember this as well, CJ and crowd, you had Bernie Sanders' squad. That's when all of a sudden they found the courage to talk about Yemen again. And remember, I did a segment. I was like, guys, this shit is not a coincidence. Like Bernie all of a sudden tweeting about Yemen now. That is not a coincidence, even though he was silent, because the Biden administration in the U.S. was already shifting that they wanted to end the war in Yemen. The reason why is because they had a giant war in Ukraine they wanted their allies to focus on, and they did not want the giant cloud of hypocrisy of Yemen hanging up. So they went to Saudi Arabia like, man, we were really trying to create a united front against Russia and condemning them against war crimes. And that's going to be very hard to do if you guys are waging a genocide in Yemen. And this is literally what the Department of Defense was quoted in the statement that was covered. They said they wanted to end the war in Yemen because it makes their stance on Ukraine look hypocritical. So that's why the United States wanted to end the war in Yemen, but they failed. Bernie Sanders and the progressives, they made a big tweet storm and push for it. They failed. And then you guys know they didn't follow up on it. You guys know that's how I know it's part theater. And I know I'm going a little long here, but I'm trying to explain it.
No, go ahead. No, do you?
I knew that was theater because you can tell Bernie and AOC would care about this. They tweet about this all the time. Not only when it's a Democrat thing, because it was a whole Democrat thing to end the war in Yemen, and it didn't work. It didn't work, and then they went back silence. They went silence again. So then China made a peace deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran, which Saudi Arabia and Iran was serious about because China's economic prowess and their willingness and their want to form a partnership with China. So when Biden and Blinken went to Saudi Arabia and they were demanding to end the war in Yemen, they were like, shut the fuck up. We don't give a fuck. Then G went to Saudi Arabia, like, oh, this is my nigga, bro. Oh yeah, no Yemen shit. No, we all good, bro. We don't need that shit no more. We all good. So this is a giant blow to the United States and the people in the left, the social democrats who hate China. China accomplished what Bernie Sanders and the progressives could not. They ran on restoring peace in Yemen since 2019. Bernie ran on that. And then he forgot about it when Biden won. So China did something that even the progressive left couldn't do. But sorry, that's my rant, my spill. CJ, I'll pass back to you. There's lots.
Yeah, just showing you another. Just showing some headlines here. Saudi officials to hold peace talks with Houthis. That's how you pronounce it. I think that's how you said it.
Yep.
In Yemen capital report. And I'm just showing you, just some articles showing how, it went from 0 to 60 real quick in Yemen. Yeah. Like it went like overnight. Russian inspired. I'm sorry, and that's like you said, China inspired through the deal with Iran and Saudi Arabia. Now, let me show you this next part, and that's this one here. And this goes to U.S. hegemony. Now, this is a excerpt I'm going to read you here that Xi Jinping said. And let me change this banner to include this part here, because this is what he says, you're playing with fire here. So let me read. Oh, where am I? All right, here. So I'll just pull up the article part. I don't need to read the caption here. It says a senior administration official told me that Xi told President Biden at their summit in Bali in November, in essence, I will not be the president of China who loses Taiwan. If you force my hand, there will be a war. You don't understand how important this is to the Chinese people. You're playing with fire. So Xi Jinping has said this to the Biden administration. So the Biden administration knows exactly what they're doing. It sounds like you're going to chime in. I can't see you, but go ahead, Nick, if you were going to chime in.
And I'm glad you had this receipt, because China has made their position clear, because anyone who's been following geopolitics is not propaganda. Propagandize know the only people who've been lying and been the aggressor has been the United States, because the United States and China have been friendly since the 1970s, ever since the United States decided to recognize Taiwan as part of China. Before that, the United States used to use Taiwan as a way to demonize China, the same way they do it now. But since once they decided to normalize relationship with China, they agreed to the one China policy in the 1970s, and that has been our long-standing policy since then. But the United States have held a position of strategic ambiguity on Taiwan, where they lie and mislead people about their position. So they say stuff like Taiwan is contested, even though they know that's directly against United States policy. So then whenever they ask about their policy, they say we actually do support the one China policy. So what they do, they openly antagonize China while still acknowledging the one China policy, because they're trying to probe the beast in China. And they're trying to take advantage of the fact that most people do not know that Taiwan is a part of China. Now I'm gonna share this just quickly, because you shared.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick, and I'll pass back to your screen.
Yeah, for those that asked, that was from the New York Times. That excerpt I showed is from the New York Times. And I'm locked out. I can't show it. I can't show the article because I'm locked out. I'm ad blocked. So
and I'm showing this because of your quote with Xi Jinping when he told Biden directly that Taiwan is the hard red line. And we all know the United States strategy is to cross their enemy's red line and then blame the other country for responding. You know that guy who punches you in the face and they respond and they're like, oh my God, you're being aggressive. That's what the United States foreign policy literally is. So despite the quote you just showed where Xi Jinping said Taiwan is hardline, breaking, you got 200 United States troops that arrived in Taiwan today. I interjected this because I saw this all over my Twitter feed. I saw a lot of people, look at this. My friend Lauren reported on this. Actually, no, she just mentioned it. This is something she responded to.
That guy, I saw that video.
That video
started with that video one time.
I'm gonna play that video eventually. See, this is another example. Sad days ahead. Pentagon, 200 U.S. military trainers arrive in Taiwan. So I'm showing this right after you show that quote because I want to show that Biden and his administration was told this is a red line, and now they're just doing everything they can to escalate more. But despite that, conservatives are still pretending that Joe Biden is weak on China, even though he's escalating away with Taiwan that no president has done. Now, I'm just putting this up here just to show my just some receipts on some stuff I said earlier. They're just showing how China had a big role to play in Yemen. This was even written by Ryan Grimm. To help end the Yemen war, all China had to do was be reasonable. Now, compare that to Joe Biden, who broke his campaign promise and approves arms sales to Saudi Arabia. You want to know what side Bernie Sanders is on? Joe Biden. You want to know what side Marianne Wilson's going to be on? Joe Biden, because
Joe Biden.
She, in her interview with Glenn Greenwald, she's sure as hell afraid of the Chinese Communist Party, and she want to let you know it. So, I'm going to ask you guys, who are you afraid of? Are you afraid of the country that is brokering peace deals that Bernie Sanders failed to get done? Are you afraid of the country that actually responsible for leveling peace in Yemen and Saudi Arabia and Iran that is growing the infrastructure of Africa? Like, when I see the rhetoric that coming from the NATO left, and the NATO left often repeat all the China propaganda. I cannot get more disgusted, and I can't roll my eyes harder at the people who believe that we are any sort of allies or friends. If your worldview is that fucked that you're repeating Democratic Party lines over China,
yeah,
we got completely different values. Like that to me, that'd be the same as you like trying to say someone who is anti-gay is your friend. You know what I mean? Like the guy who's anti-gay is not your friend. The same way a Marxist is not your friend. You guys don't believe in the same shit. You know what I mean? Go ahead, CJ. I'll pass to you. Actually,
I'll read. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thanks for the $5, Eric. If you don't know what you're doing, neither will your enemy. Joe Sue Biden. That's funny. Thanks for the super chat, Eric. I pass to you, CJ.
Yeah, so and I'm gonna kind of wrap this segment with this this video, and this is the proposed. I don't know if she's been confirmed or how the process is. The proposed director or president of the BRICS Bank, and I think it has a real name, but I can't think of it right now. But it's the BRICS Bank. This is her talking about MBD. That's what it's called. MDB. That's what it's called. New Development Bank is right on the screen. I should have just looked at it. But let's listen to what she says here. I'll read it aloud because she's speaking in Portuguese, and then Ben comes on and kind of gives a synopsis. So let's listen.
At the NDB, we have committed to it in our strategy. For the period from 2022 to 2026, NDB has to lend 30% in local currency, and so 30% of our...
So local currency, MDB, that's the BRICS Bank, will be lending 30% in local currency is what she's saying here, just to make sure we know.
Our loan book will be financed in the currencies of our member countries.
The new multipolar world order is growing more and more by the day. This March and April were very historic months. We saw many developments happen very quickly, especially in terms of de-dollarization, with more and more countries in the global south challenging the hegemony of the US dollar. Now, at the heart of this project is the BRICS. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. This is an economic and political bloc of developing.
That these different shades of people, this is what the United States fear. This is what capitalists fear. This.
That's a terrifying, that's like nightmare fuel for capitalists right there. What a picture.
Yeah. And of different shades of people, but this is what it takes to take down.
No, that's white supremacy's
the
biggest enemy right there. That's white supremacy's biggest enemy. Like these people represent countries that white supremacy has waged war on.
Right.
Right. Look at every single one of these. China, India. Remember what the UK did to India in the genocide that they sponsored? Like this is terrifying. What the West has done in Russia, South Africa, the apartheid that UK and the United States passively support. This is the enemies of white supremacy and imperialism band together to take down their enemy, which is something that I wanted to see, but I did not think I would see anytime soon.
Yeah, it's been sped up, definitely. There's about another 30 seconds of this, and then we'll end this segment here.
Developing countries, many of which were formerly colonized, and together they have around 1/3 of global GDP when measured by purchasing power parity. So that's about 1/3 of the size of the entire global economy. And the BRICS has been talking about developing a new global reserve currency to challenge the dollar. The discussions to create the BRICS go back to 2006, and it was officially founded in 2000.
For those that they may not recognize him, this is Lula. He had a whole lot more hair. He was a little bit chunkier. So this is Lula right here, part of the founding members or founding people of the BRICS is right here. So let's continue. He's just breaking down what's happening with the bank, de-dollarization, and then we'll end this here.
2009. But there are also other institutions that make up the overall BRICS bloc. And one of those is the so-called BRICS Bank, the official name of which is the New Development Bank, or NDB. This was created as a global south-oriented alternative to the World Bank, which is dominated by the United States. The U.S. is the only country that has veto power in the World Bank. And
the United States is the only one to have, that's where I wanted to end it on. The United States is the only one who has power in the World Bank, which basically means they run that shit. And then you have, and I'll bring up the graphic just so you can see it. This is another scene that the U.S. is just in fear of, and it's these flags here, the new bank. Like this is definitely putting fear. This is what that segment, the propaganda segment we covered, that guy that was so mad. This is what he was trying to describe as the fear that they have is these flags uniting to say this shit is over, bro. This shit is over. And I'll leave it there, Nick. Any last words before we close?
Yeah, that's why I show you that segment, because that when he was melting down about India going away from the United States, Saudi Arabia going away from the United States, that's cope. Now they're trying to find a way to fit this cope into the red-blue game, which I also find fascinating to watch because
it's funny.
It is. Because now their line is saying like, "Oh my God, Biden has weakened us on the geopolitical world stage," and they may convince normies, but this is them admitting that their bipartisan empire strategy is failing, and now them trying to shift it to a position where they can gain partisan points. It's cope because it's going to continue to happen, and just like under Donald Trump, the same way it does under Joe Biden, and it's going to be funny watching them to spin that. So I'm going to continue watching this. I'm going to continue watching because the people who are crying right now about the United States falling influence are the people who I've been waiting to see cry for quite some time. So it's great to see. So with that said, I think that's my last segment for today, TJ. Tomorrow we got RBN Live. Wednesday, Nick at Night, I'll be joined by our pal Eddie from Midwestern Marks. That's going to be a powerful Nick at Night episode. So that's what I have coming up. CJ, anything else you want to
No,
add?
that's all. And the story about the young black kid, 16-year-old kid that was murdered in KC, Nick, I think it's probably good for us to cover during RBN Live for those that wanted us, that's looking for that coverage. So I'm sure we'll talk about it because that is a topic that normally, like we said, you got to watch all of us to get the gist. And JB is really good with these sort of topics that, he's able to go into these topics and really dig into them. So I'm sure he'll cover it on his channel, but I'm sure we'll talk about it tomorrow.
I think we should cover that story. My first reaction to that story is some shit that get me kicked off YouTube. Because whenever black people commit a crime, our face is everywhere. Look at this thug, name release. They go through your MySpace page. Like, look at this picture of him waving a gun. They're protecting this person. They're protecting his identity, which I don't think they should do. Like, they're like, this man was charged with a crime, and Black Twitter was like, who is he? Black Twitter was like, who the fuck are you talking about? Because when we commit crimes, our picture is plastered everywhere. This guy executed one of ours, and they're protecting his identity. Now, I'm not saying I'm not gonna do it, but did the conscience get me in trouble? Because I have cousins who are 16-year-old, and this is my city, fam. This is my city. Shit like that happened where my 16-year-old cousin was gunned down by a white man because he rung the wrong doorbell. That motherfucker would get redacted. And I'm going to say that just for YouTube. I'm going to shut up right now. I can't tell these stories. I hold back a lot, guys. We are a hood rat. I swear to God, this story, I didn't know I wanted to cover it, but I was so mad. Like, it's one of them stories that make me emotional, bro, because I swear to God, this motherfucker better hope his identity don't come out. That's all I'm going to say. That motherfucker need to be dealt with. I'm not the professional guy. I'm the guy who's going to scare you guys off. That's what I think. Anyway, I guess I'll say my break up tomorrow, but that motherfucker get redacted. He need to get redacted. That's the only the reason I don't cover these stories usually. I think we should cover this because I have no other analysis. You know what I mean? It's like one of them stories that's so sad. Like what analysis I kind of bring to that story other than let's fuck this motherfucker up. You know what I mean?
Anyway, because there's no solution. The system is what brought the problem, so it's not like a system can bring a solution. So I get the sentiment, and we'll end with this. I have the same reason.
We cover it. We do.
No. That's why I like how JB is able to go into these and don't have the same reaction that you and I and Rome will have. We literally three of us have the same reaction to these stories. Like where is he? Like where is he at? That's it. That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it there, and we'll leave you with this MLK
tomorrow.
clip to bring peace back to this stream. We'll end with this MLK clip here.
I think that is an answer to that myth, and it is that time is neutral. It can be used either constructively or destructively. And I'm absolutely convinced that the forces of ill will in our nation, the extreme rightists in our nation, have often used time much more effectively than the forces of goodwill. And it may well be that we will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the vitriolic words of the bad people and the violent actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence and indifference of the good people who sit around and say, wait on time. Somewhere we must come to see that social progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of dedicated individuals, and without this hard work, time itself becomes an ally of the primitive forces of social stagnation. And so we must help time, and we must realize that the time is always right to do right.